What's up, people? Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hello, squishies.
Lav being here saved you because I wanted to pull one on you. I wanted to pull one where I raised your mic before you were ready, but I didn't want Lav to be forced on stream against their will, so I put myself on first so that there was a nice heads up for them to exit.
Really enjoy that Lav saved me because nonstop you're like, are you ready? And I say I'm born ready. And then as I'm saying I'm born ready, even when I don't know, you put me on.
Yeah, just a sec. I'm gonna be blowing my nose a lot today. Sorry, fam.
Is there any way that we could blow it less in the world?
Yeah, that's why I'm getting my tissue and I'm leaning far to the side before I do. I am getting over a cold. The only part I have left is a runny nose. Everything else is gone. So we're doing One Piece first, and then I'm going to change the title at the bottom there to reflect that we have moved on when we have moved on. Make sense? We're all good. We're understanding. Everybody gets it. We are doing One Piece first for sure.
I wrote a haiku.
You wrote a haiku?
In Japanese.
The coup was high.
It was high and it was coup.
Damn.
I'm telling you right now, it's genius. But
hit me up. But as a poet, as a licensed poet, I actually think you should speak a language that you're gonna write poetry for. But you know, that's my opinion as an educated licensed poet.
I like that you always call yourself a licensed poet. Like when you graduated, they were like, hold on, yeah, also, let us pull out this license for poeting.
Hey, I need to say, I got so lucky because my sister having twins distracted you guys and you didn't make me sign up for convocation. I didn't have to do it.
Oh, rat bastard.
You guys said you'd force me, but my sister had twins, so you didn't have the mental faculties for it. No convocation for me.
Bastard. Is it too late for us to get you to convocate at the end of the year?
I had one chance to do it in winter. That was my second chance, and I did not specifically because I saw what day it was and was like, I'm gonna be busy then.
You are the worst.
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. I hate standing and waiting. Standing and waiting is possibly my least favorite activity in the world, and convocation is an event of nothing but standing and waiting. All convocation is standing and waiting.
Pictures.
Oh wow, getting my picture taken. That makes it. That's a thing I love to do. That makes up.
It's not for you. It's not always about you. Right now, it's about me, and I wanted.
It was. All right, let's
Therefore, you crushed your mother's heart. I'm going to start this day with the poem, and since you're a licensed poet and you only do poetry in your own language, you could just deal with it.
Yeah, because that's my philosophy as a licensed poet. To be fair, I actually did think about doing it, but then I kind of forgot. Then I missed it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Are you ready for my haiku in Japanese, of which I'm going to butcher the language? Are you excited for it? Here we go. Tasogale wa sono hino hebeki mino gahana. It means the moment right after the sunset, the echo of the day, the spirit of life.
I mean, that sounds very pretty when it's not a haiku because it's in a language that doesn't translate it into a haiku.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, one of those things is an idiom in Japan, and it was amazing. And my kid from Japanese who looked at it said he would steal it and use it in class.
That's pretty rad. That's a win right there, in my opinion.
I was like, if you're willing to steal it and use it in class, even though I've just butchered the language, I win. And that's all that matters.
I want to say something is I am going to be doing a thing here where I am going to be, because we're only giving ourselves an hour, a lot of my art style has kind of boiled down to what I think I can get away with in 2 hours, and what I've drawn for these recaps that are like an hour aren't very good. So I'm going to be trying to do a less planned, more rough, less underlining style so that I can get something done, and that's the experiment we're doing to be able to do stuff for One Piece recaps. I am glad your poem did what you shush. I'm glad your poem was good enough that a Japanese student wants to kidnap it.
You know what? I really appreciate you appreciating
Roxanne
it.
Sub got shafted? Oh yeah, it did. We talked. The reason I felt like we didn't have to is because we talked about it before stream. Thank you,
Roxanne. Thank you for subbing now.
Yeah, we actually sung the Roxanne song, was the thing we did about it.
For you, off stream.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really very helpful or nice, actually.
No, it did actually, basically, I would say nothing for you.
Zero. But I want you to know
that you had a
good time. Yeah.
Yeah. I went, Roxanne!
Yeah, and then I finished it, and it was amazing. We all cried, actually. My thing says you're still offline, but I can see everyone. I just can't see
funny.
you on Twitch. I
Let me
hate it when
check.
that happens.
Looks good to me.
Why is this happening to me? Oh, good. More sickness.
I lean so
Temperature.
far away. My new mic doesn't have a mute button, guys. My old mic, my worst mic, had a mute button. The new one has no mute button. I can't just go, boop, it's off. I'm doing me. When I would be sick before, I would turn it off first. Maybe I'll try to like turn it away from me, then lean. See if that's enough for you guys. Tell me, guys.
Well, your voice is audible. I don't know.
I went so far away.
How far away did you have to go to do that?
I went so far away, and I turned my mic to look away from me. I don't want to blow my nose in everyone's ear, but like, guys, I gotta blow my nose. I can't just be going like the whole time. That's not good. That's not. I don't know what the solution is because I can't mute myself.
Blow your nose.
Like right now?
You do nose blower.
Okay, let's see.
I heard you, you goofy thing.
Damn it. Okay, let me tell you. You say mute yourself in software, but you don't know how slow that is. You don't know how many things I have to open to mute myself in software. It's so many things.
Is as many things as it would take to actually see this in Twitch? Twitch hates me. Screw you, Twitch. I have no words.
I mean, I
went off and I went back in and I can see everything now. Hey, it's my 12-month anniversary. I just shared it.
12-month anniversary.
It's my 12-month anniversary.
I'm gonna have to mute myself in software, even though it takes forever, because I'm not just gonna be blowing my nose in people's ears, and that does seem to be my only option. Because turning them, Sazzy Boy said he didn't hear it. People said they didn't hear it, so maybe if I turn the mic away and then blow my nose, only you can hear it through Discord, and Streamlabs is saving these kind people.
Yes, it's my 12-month anniversary.
That's a year, isn't it?
Yes, it's. Your father came in here to be like, did you just say 12-month anniversary? That's a year, isn't it?
I feel like people are going to get the wrong idea about my father and think he's dumb because they only ever hear him when he's being facetious.
Yep, Dr. Jack says, yep, that's a year, Papa Drawk. Is it 12 months a year? Do you know that One Piece dropped us some sweet, sweet food to like, I was like, what a meal. What a delicious meal we have.
About what One Piece did today was that I like to be reading a book and then cry. I like to be looking at a phone screen and then the phone screen makes me cry. What's crazy is I don't cry at manga very often because manga doesn't have the advantage of voice acting and music. Like very rarely do I cry while reading. One Piece lately has actually been getting me. Normally I only cry to the Cree. Normally I only, well, I'm actually Cree all the time. That's not an off on button.
No, you're just a part of your heritage.
That one's just an ethnic group that I can't flick that off.
You're Ojakri, so
yeah, but
like
Ojakri is part. Did you notice what was part of the word Ojakri? Anyways, lately One Piece has been hitting so hard that I've been crying from reading, like, which isn't normal for me. I cry from anime constantly. The One Piece anime makes me cry easily, but like, fucking, that's crazy. Frankie's voice actor retiring is sad. Isn't he like 80? Like, it makes sense that a very old guy who's been pushing his voice to the limits forever is having to step down, and it's sad, but guys, One Piece has been running so long that we are going to be seeing a lot of that before it ends, I imagine.
69 or 65.
65?
But yeah, no.
60? Okay, people are saying two different
60s. To retire, though.
He does.
Yeah,
I've heard mixed things about if he's sick or not.
Good money. Hey, is my voice still really good? Because I'm facing forward and my mic is beside me.
You sound pretty good. All right, ready? We're here to test if blowing my nose comes through. Goodbye.
You know what? It's a hello, Stone.
Jesus
I
Christ.
like that we're just sitting here while you blow your nose. I'm done with you.
What are we supposed to do? What's your solution?
I have one. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Don't get sick.
What a great thing. Look, I'm doing the thing that's good for your immune system. Hey, did you know what it turns out is good for your immune system?
Getting sick?
No, cold dips. So I've been doing winter cold dips in the local lake because there's a beautiful swimming dock at our lake. Now, hear me out on something. I think it's supposed to be good for you if you manage to heat up properly. Have you ever felt cold in a hot tub?
Yes.
I have not. I am not used to this feeling. So normally what happens is we go to our cold dip and the girls, my wife and my sister, feel pretty good after a while. I sit in the shower shaking, and then I get out after I've expended my hot water tank, which because of the, we've been through the saga of high water pressure, because of the high water pressure, does not last long. The hot water tank is gone pretty quickly.
Why don't you just have a hot bath? That's a weird choice.
Well, because like my chill of my body would break it. My tub is so small that I can't really fit myself in there with enough water to make a significant difference. Anyways, let me finish the story. This most recent time, I didn't feel sick yesterday. I thought I was all better. We did the cold dip and we were like, okay, but because you were sick and you don't want to stress your immune system out, let's warm up properly. We'll go to the pool. We'll go to the hot tub. If I felt sick, I wouldn't have gone to the hot tub. Don't worry, people. And I go to the hot tub to heat up. And I was in there for like 15 straight minutes and was like, I can't, this water doesn't, I need more hot. The water doesn't feel hot. I feel cold. And it made me realize maybe I need a pool pass if I'm going to keep doing cold dunks, because I don't think my body heats up well enough to trust a shower to be good enough for me. I think I need a hot tub, or I am exclusively going to be freezing for the rest of the day. I didn't realize how much cold blood I was leaving in my body after these dunks. I think I was not actually doing these dunks in a way that was good for my immune system, and I'm paying for a pool pass so that I can keep doing the dunks without fucking killing myself. Because like, it really expressed just how much cold I was injecting into my bloodstream to be sitting in a hot tub, a hot tub that has in the past made me uncomfortable after swimming from like 5 minutes of submergence, and to be fully inside up to my ears for 15 minutes going, I'm so cold.
Do they have a sauna there?
Do they have a sauna? Yeah, but I hate saunas.
No one cares if you hate saunas. That's where you really go. That's what you do. You go out of a cold dip into a sauna, not into a hot tub. Like, this is just basic humaning.
But have you thought about how water is more convex more? Water is more convection.
Have you thought about how, like, literally people in Scandinavian countries use this for a reason?
And they also eat pickled shark, and I don't eat pickled shark. I'm not just going to listen to them about everything.
Are you under the impression you just made an argument?
Yeah, look, I don't believe in this crazy trend that so many liberals have of being like, oh, other countries are inherently better, and we should trust their wisdom.
We're done.
If you eat pickled sharks, I'm joking. Obviously, obviously, cold dunks is a specific thing that the Scandinavian nations have more expertise on. I'm being silly.
Thank you.
Hot tub while snowing is 10 out of 10. That's actually 100% true. Oh, because you breathe in the warm air. The warm air helps heat up your lungs.
Yeah, dummy.
Oh, this makes sense. But water convects more convectos.
No, a sauna is a full body experience for a reason. It's also why your nation had like hot steams in the winter.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you didn't know, if you're camping, you can do what the Cree did and the Ojibwe did, the Chippewa. And this is so cool. We've done it while camping a few times. You set up a tarp to make a big like wet tent, and you all go inside. You have rocks cooking in the fire all day, and at night, you can either, first of all, if you want to stay warm, just bury hot rocks under your tent and it'll keep your tent warm and warm it up. That's great. But you can also just make your own sauna while camping by taking the rocks at the end of the night out of the fire with tongs and putting them in a hole and pouring water on the hot rocks. And you can have your own sauna while camping, and it's a really great time. I highly recommend it. We did that all the time when we camped when I was a kid.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready to rock and roll?
Am I ready?
Are you ready to talk about One Piece? It's been so long since we've talked about One Piece.
I'm almost ready to talk about One Piece. Give me a little.
Are we going to move backwards, or should we just start on chapter 1133? I wanted to talk on 1133. Everyone else has covered all the other
We talk about 1133 and we dip into the other chapters we haven't talked about as we go, so that people can know our opinions about what's going on.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, it was really funny because I don't know why I never said to myself that obviously the government blamed Robin for everything. You know, when you're just like sitting there and you're like, why does everyone hate her? Like we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
And never stop to be like, wait a minute, maybe the government blamed her for everything, because it seems so impossibly stupid.
How did we not think about it? It makes so much fucking sense though, because they're like, yeah, she has special powers, so she could do it. Of course, they're not going to be like, yeah, Vice Admiral Sakazuki obliterated everybody because they were devils.
Exactly.
Like, of course, they're not going to say that. What the fuck kind of dumbass was I thinking they were that people knew what happened in the slightest?
Dumb. I was reading this and being like, oh yeah, right. Obviously, they blamed Robin. Like, ooh,
It's not like I thought the newspapers were saying that about Sakazuki, but like they had to explain everyone being gone and everyone hated Robin so much. Of course, like it just makes perfect sense, and I somehow never put it together, and I feel dumb.
No, Bone Fairy, I never even thought about it.
Didn't. Sometimes when you're thinking about really deep shit, you ignore some obvious fucking nonsense.
More than that, even Bone Fairy, like I'm gonna legitimately say it isn't even that I didn't catch on to it. It's that I didn't even think to myself, gee, I wonder why they all hate her so much.
It was just
I just moved on with my life and was like,
8-year-old weird.
Yeah,
because we kind of read it as like the government told them to, so they did. But back then, I think nowadays, if it came out, we might have thought about it more. But back then, Oda wasn't quite in his era of making it so clear how important government manipulation of information is. That's become a primary theme of One Piece.
I even did though. I kept talking about
you did, but it wasn't as clearly textual. Like it wasn't
doing this and this, and yet I still didn't think.
But can you just acknowledge that it wasn't as clear in the text? Like the focus on the government controlling information was not nearly as prevalent in the text.
But one of the questions I asked after I saw this, like this was clearly set up by the government. If you look, you got one dude who's saying, to all my dying days, I'll never forget the sounds and screams that emerged from the fire. And then one of the press asked that, and there's a minimum of 3, possibly 4 press in there. And one of them said, and Nico Robin did that. One of the press says, not only that, but several other battleships were also sunk. And so then I wondered how much Morgan has had influence with them over time, and if he was in league with them and said like, okay, you want to do the cover up? I'm going to help you because all I care about as the news coups is what makes the biggest news. So it seemed like this when we talked earlier, and when I claimed that I thought that even though Morgan will move against them sometimes, that he has been moving in tandem with them and they've been giving each other favors, and this is why he's allowed to move unmolested throughout the world. I think it's because of shit like this, where he has done them a solid.
I agree. I think Morgan's is such an interesting figure because he'll go against the government every once in a while. Like, very clearly, there's no world where they wanted Luffy to be titled the 5th Emperor. That's not good for them.
No.
There's frankly no world where they wanted the title of Emperor of the Sea to exist to legitimize their power. There's no world where he wanted someone to be called King. They wanted someone to be called King of the Pirates. So clearly the news is making their own choices and going against government interests sometimes when the news is interesting enough. But if the government gives him a spin that's just as interesting, he's like, yeah, whatever.
I also think there's something in it back and forth that he gets away with going against the government sometimes because they know if they really need him, so he'll step in and help them spin doctorate. He'll wag the dog.
Hey, can I talk real world politics in a very obfuscated way very quickly?
What? That's what we do here in our book chat. We talk about things.
It's a similar thing to what you see in Western media at the moment, where yes, Western media has the freedom to go against the government and they can say things, but there is so much pressure from investors who have their fingers in the pie of government that generally there is this consensus media vibe that everything is pushed, especially in independent media now, where the vast majority of independent media figures are sponsored by a few groups because it's so cheap to buy them out compared to legacy media. But there tends to be this like bent towards one perspective. We've talked about this before when I talked about, well, Luffy does fit the definition of a terrorist because a terrorist is just violent actor we say is a bad guy, whereas freedom fighters, violent actor we say is a good guy. That really is true. I promise you, if you look, most terrorists call themselves freedom fighters with very, very rare exceptions. But this feels like the same thing where, yeah, the legacy news media that is Big News Morgan's is mostly acting as a government asset. but then also will go against the government as it interests him for profiteering. All of the times that legacy media goes against the government, it's because the investors are like, yeah, there's too much money in this story. We will go against the government because this is sensational. And that is what tends to, in the Western world, get legacy media to move against government interest. That is a real thing that happens.
I love that Tavian called it manufacturing consent, because that's exactly what it is.
That is a very, very leftist word to describe it, and it's so true.
Well, it's also like if you watch the film Wag the Dog, that's all they do. And we talk about that in political philosophy, which we happen to be doing right now in philosophy class, which is the timing on that, I got to tell you, is not helping my career. And so it's really interesting because when we talk about the manufactured consent and letting people feel like they are part of the process, that's exactly what took place here, that people think that they are being told the truth. They're being given a narrative that then spills into consent to, like, I don't know, killing a little girl or tracking down pirates, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you manufacture the consent by manufacturing the ideas around it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that is a perfect thing on that.
And manufacturing consent is such the right word for what's happening in the chapter, because specifically because like everybody has said, I am in the right, I have come to the right conclusion to be afraid of and hate this little girl, because this is a little girl who I have the information on. She destroyed her own people. She blew up a fucking island. She killed everybody. She's a terrible monster. Of course I hate her. Of course I hate the mass murderer. And like, yeah, that makes sense, that everybody thinks they are an educated person making an educated choice when that's the information they have.
Yeah. It makes me so happy, like, with all the people talking about the politics of One Piece now, and people who are just like, there's nothing political. And I'm like, you would have to read this with just one part of an eyeball open to say that this isn't political.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move forward a little bit. I like the way that they did a couple of things. So Robin is running away from the world. She wants to be dead. She's hanging out with dogs in the alley and blah, blah, blah. And the last tears when her mom says, live, Robin, both of their eye, the one that shows a Robin and Robin's mom, has the same tear pattern coming out of the single eye on the same side to match them together. But I think some of the things that crush me the most is when she's walking through and she goes to a place that has maps and she opens it up and his voice is still ringing in her head, just laugh like this. And she points to the map and she says, it's not there. And then she takes a pen out of her pocket and she writes O'Hara and puts the island back into the space.
It's such a great statement about the rebellion of education and information, about like the small rebellious act of surviving. She is the defiance of O'Hara. She is the will of her people, lasting, surviving, going forwards, and refusing to be erased. She is O'Hara.
Exactly.
You guys got a foot shot for a second there because the dog cam was at the wrong angle.
Oh, you got a free foot show?
I don't. The issue is I don't have particularly nice feet. They're not like bad, but like he's a little bit muddy because he went to the park.
Yeah, I love that we get to see her helping to feed the dog and see her good heart. Meanwhile, because it's such a juxtaposition between her feeding this stray dog, and then people saying, I can't sleep at night knowing that she's there. I wish she'd just die already. But my very favorite one is on the other page where they say the government won't go into details about the story. Okay. The truth is so shocking and brutal that it'll traumatize children. So they traumatize and destroy the life of a child. This reminds me so much of people who talk about...
Not just a child. Think about how many children died to the will of the government that day. How many people did... kind of...
It's really...
Yeah, you go.
One of the things that will get me into hot water, and people aren't going to like it, but they can eat turkey sausage. That this is just like people when they talk about pro-life, but they don't talk about childcare, the cost of diapers, the ability to house people who don't have secure housing, the needs for power, affordable food, any of these things. But they care about the kid as long as it's, or a fetus or a zygote, as long as it's in somebody. But the second that it's born, they don't care at all. Okay. It doesn't even matter. Don't tell me you care about life.
Yeah, but that's because pro-life people aren't pro-life, they're pro-control, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
With rare exceptions, so this is, there are people who feel otherwise.
Can I finish this? You go. So it reminds me it's the exact same as this. The government won't go into details about the story because the truth would be so shocking and brutal it would traumatize children. So the government here is pretending to care about children, meanwhile killing a bunch of children, won't go into detail of the story, says we're not going to tell you all the different reasons that we're manipulating you and getting you to believe things that are untrue so that we can continue to control your consent as we move forward and so that you feel like you have a say in how things are going, when in actuality, we are making you feel that way. You don't actually feel that way. We are constructing and fabricating a situation that allows you to feel that you are either preserving the lives and well-being of traumatized children, while we are meanwhile not caring about them at all. Well, and so it felt just the same.
It is very similar, and it's the same as like in general, the people in power committing horrible, atrocious acts of violence and then not disclosing them to be like, well, we need to preserve your innocence. And the horrible, sick hypocrisy of saying, well, we're doing this so that the people we've deemed to be worthwhile don't have to suffer, by knowing the cost of the society they live in, by knowing the violence that we wrought as those in power. It's the same things we talked about with neoliberalism being taken on in Whole Cake Island. This idea of like a society that hides all the violence it exists upon to create a paradise for those who live there. This is that same theme, but on a larger and both a larger and more personal level, because it's the larger level of the entire world being lied to, but the more personal level of seeing the one person have her story be the scapegoat and have her story erased, so that people can have the peace and tranquility they live in of a stable, unquestioned world government that we don't have to see as bad guys and complicated and doing these horrible things to keep going. And like, even if you were to like what the world government does, even if you were to think that they did the right thing because the stability they offer is worth the suffering they cause, I don't, but even someone who did doesn't have the ability to do that calculus themselves. They don't have the opportunity to say, well, the violence we committed was justified, because they haven't been given that story. They haven't been given that justification that is believed by people like Sakazuki. They are just told an uncomplicated version so that the perfectness and the peace of the world government can be believed in.
It's just hegemony. It's hegemony in the way that you're not supposed to see the oppression of others, and then you could do what you want with them. So when you think about things like how for years people of darker skin tones were going into the store and it would say skin color for Band-Aids, skin color for tensor bandages, natural skin tones for cream that would make your skin go a little bit browner. It's the exact same thing. You're not supposed to see the things that you benefit from. They're supposed to work in the background seamlessly. So he's just talking about all the hegemony. So in this case, you're not supposed to see the death, the carnage, the hate, the hell that is in the background. And then in the foreground, you just get to continue living your life in absolutely ignorant bliss, believing that this one child is actually the thing that you should be most afraid of, rather than the people who are controlling your daily existence.
I hope our audience can see the real world place that this applies most to, in my opinion, without us having to say it, because I think it's very controversial if we have to get into it. But I hope a lot of you can see a place in the world where modern media is geared towards leaning away from seeing the violence required to preserve the ordered society that those in charge have deemed is worth the cost of bloodshed.
I'll tell you who can see it. It's Oda. Oda can see it.
You can see what side of things Oda is on. This man absolutely is aware of the state of the world. There's no world where he isn't. And
it's so fun to be reading modern now.
There's a video I want to do that we need to be careful on, because I don't want to actually say what we're going to be comparing it to, but I want to talk about the politics of Skypiea at some point without ever bringing up the thing I wish to compare it to, so that it can just act as a good lens for people who are not aware of that. Anyways, so
one of the greatest, most powerful parts is she lowers their defenses with her childish looks. Childish looks, not being a child. Same thing as that when we always call SA victims who are girls, women, or young women, or young adult when they're like 13. and then slits their throats in the night. And then it shows her just running through the streets, this tiny little girl. And right beside her face, while she's covered in dirt, she's crying, and she's clearly in anguish while she's trying to laugh. Duress she. It says, stupid brat, deserves to be dead in a ditch somewhere and just go away forever. And I was like, oh my goddamn difficult, break my goddamn heart. Like, that was just... Can we talk that was hard to read.
There is a new thing that I have realized is so brutal. This little DLC to her backstory has given me something, a revelation about a former event. Her choosing to let herself die under Alabasta is so much more sad. Think about this, right? Robin had gone her entire life saying, I need to live on for Saul and for Alvia, who asked that I do, right? She does her absolute best to survive. She goes through torment and pain. And the first person who appreciates her for her talents, not as a person, but for what she can do, is Crocodile. She is a safe place with Crocodile, but more and more sees that Crocodile is just the world government, is just a man who wants power and wants to use the legacy of Ohara, the people who wanted to preserve history so that it didn't need to happen again, who wanted to preserve a story of freedom and truth about what the world is, just wanted to become another conqueror. And after all of this living to preserve the legacy of Ohara, the poneglyph she found was just the description of where to find a weapon. That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing she had found that she had stuck with Crocodile to find, that she had carried on the legacy of her people, was just war, was just conquest, was just bloodshed. That was all her ability, all her hard work of surviving had been good for, was finding a weapon. And that
exactly. Her. And so, like, extend that now and think about the gosh darn genius of Oda to understand where exactly Robin's story was going to, that he put that in there, that she was like a weapon, and she had this great disappointment. And when she first found the weapon, we were all like, oh my God, she's going against the crew. She's just been looking for this weapon, and couldn't be further from the truth. But to lay that level of foresight into your piece, that when we look back now and think about it, we can see what a slap in the face to her that was, given that this entire time she was just desperately finding somebody who would care for her, and then gave up on that and is just looking to preserve being the person she was and learning from the people she did at Ohara, and finds instead a fucking weapon.
It's heartbreaking to think about in retrospect. And I love how well set up it is. I'm so excited for next chapter if we stick with this scene, which I have to imagine we will, because everyone's together. We have nothing else to cut to. I am so excited for Saul to see the people who are out there at sea, waiting to love Robin, waiting to give her a home. The people he told her to live for, because he didn't tell her to live for Ohara. He's celebrating it now, but that was too much to put on a little girl. What he put on her was surviving to find people who would love her, to be her family. And next chapter, she gets to see the people who declared war on the world to give her a home. And I'm so happy for him.
I think about now, and Annie's lobby in such a deeper way because of this chapter. And that is a genius in writing. When you move forward in writing and the author remembers, I've already written a bunch of shit, I have the ability to strengthen what I already wrote, as well as creating new plot line and make my whole piece better. And I think that's one of the things I most appreciate about Oda, is he doesn't leave anything behind. He's like, oh, no. Everything you've already read is going to come out, and it's going to hit you harder. Because when I was reading this and thinking about, okay, I'm just going to go ahead a tiny little bit. When Robin is, Luffy is about to go in and eat, and they have told Luffy, in this pub, in this giant pub, we have giant piles of meat made for giant people. So imagine the meat. You're Luffy.
Imagine
the meat, and you're about to go in and have a feast beyond feast, which is like a Luffy dream. And he's walking away, and he's like, oh my God, they got a whole mountain of food sized for us. Gabba gabba, come on into the pub. And Luffy's like, food? I'm starving. And then he's already running away. They show the whole crew. They show Luffy in the lead of running away. And then she says at normal talking voice, "Hey, Luffy." Normal talking voice, and he stops. And she says, she's not guilt tripping. She just says a fact. "I can go on my own." And he says, "Not going to happen." And then everyone else realizes what has happened. And everyone turns around and goes, everyone goes, "Nope, I want to see this. Me too."
Can I go on a fucking tear about this chapter and how much it vindicates so much of what people were giving you shit for about Luffy's character development? And I am,
go ahead.
Because this ties into things you've been talking about for a long time that I hadn't noticed. Or at least hadn't put together well enough. So we talked about how at the end of Dressrosa, a lot of people treated it like, oh, that's Luffy being Luffy. But it was actually, we said a thesis statement from Oda saying this is Luffy's next lesson, was where Luffy says, "I don't want to be anyone important. I just want to be king of the pirates," which is obviously super fucking dumb. Because King of the Pirates is an important person. It is the man with the most freedom is an important person in the world. And everyone around him says, "Oh, we are pledging ourselves to you." And he says, "That's dumb. I don't want subordinates." And they're like, "Too bad." Okay. In this chapter, we get to see the result of the Four Emperors saga, where Luffy became a true emperor. First the fifth emperor, and then one of the four proper. Here is why Luffy has now become an emperor. Haruden says, "Hey, boss." And Luffy goes, "Haruden, I don't want you to serve me." But he calls him by name, a thing Luffy does not do to people who haven't earned his respect. Think about another thing. Usually this has been saved for his crew. Names have been saved largely for his crew or his mentors. Or his family, basically. Family. Family is the word, right? His family. He also calls Yamato and Momo by name. Momo has pledged his country to him. Okay?
Or Bonnie, yeah.
I think what we are seeing is Luffy becoming a proper emperor and realizing something. Over the course of Wano, he saw Momo as a kid who is a king by default because people were pledging themselves to him because of his bloodline. It wasn't Momo's choice. They were making him a king. And Luffy said to Momo, "If you are going to be a king, you need to deserve it. You need to be a person who deserves that title." Luffy has now realized that by being the man who seeks to have the most freedom, he has been having to change the world to be a more free world, because that's how to be more free. And as he has changed the world, as he has been this force creating ripples and destroying the world as it is now, people are pledging themselves to him. They are backing him. And Luffy has realized, oh, I am like Momo. I am a man who is being made a king by others choosing to bow to me. And that has hit him with a form of responsibility. So do you want to talk about the specific way he declines the meat? And then I'll get back to this, because this observation is so important to my point.
Okay, so when I was noticing that he immediately, by the way, I put Luffy and Robin's relationship at the highest tier when we did it, but I would make a new tier for it now. Because she literally just in a speaking voice says, "Hey, Luffy," and he immediately stops because he realizes. So not only does he say, "No, I'm going to go with you," not only does he stop away from his meat vision, he comes back and then he says, "Listen, Robin, the thing about being captain is you have to pay respects to everyone who's helped out your crew." And she giggles and goes, "Where'd you learn that from? It's the honorable thing to do. Duh." Now, this made me think of a bunch of things, but I'm going to say the first thing it made me think of so that you can connect to it, and then I'll talk about my next thing. Because the giants immediately go, "Oh, that's a good point. We can't wait to bring on the toast. Bring Saul back with you. In the meantime, we'll prepare the special mousse for you. Take your time, folks." Because Luffy realized a couple of things. He was being given an honor and taken in to have this huge meal and celebration together. Robin has to do a thing that seems like a side quest to everyone else. Luffy would not miss it for all of the anything in the world, because he knows who Robin is. He knows where Robin came from and what she had to overcome personally to become the person that she is as a member of their family. And so he also, at the exact same time, he also remembers that the giants' number one thing that they care about is paying respects and being honorable. That you need to do the honorable thing. It's why the first giants that he met fought for 100 years, every day, every time that the volcano went off. So he knows by saying that, he respects the giants. He doesn't hurt anyone's feelings or make a political faux pas. So everyone understands why he needs to go there. He doesn't have to say it's an emotional thing, it's part of our family. No, not at all. Instead, he just says the thing the giants need to hear, so he can be there in the way that Robin needs him to be there. And then the entire crew is like, wouldn't miss it for the world. And everyone changes direction immediately and goes with Robin. And you can see how true that is when he's just going to run up there and thank Saul so much for everything he's done. And he's the quick action, and Nami is the long-term political thinker over time. And she immediately grabs him and reminds him, this is Robin's moment.
And I think this is brilliant because it shows this is Luffy being thoughtful, respectful, understanding consequences, and understanding the weight of his actions as an emperor of the sea refusing an invite to an event. He does it in, you're right, a perfectly respectful way that makes them understand why he has to do this. And I don't think a big counterpoint people had to us, well, you primarily, but us saying that Oda was giving us a thesis statement of the next thing Luffy has to learn, and me pointing out that this is Luffy returning to being the imperfect character, because he got to be in an arc about inspiring loyalty, a saga about inspiring loyalty of Punk Hazard Dressrosa. He got to be the static perfect being. This was him learning about how to be an emperor and needing to learn again. This is us confirming that he has learned that if you are going to be the most important man in the world, there is so much weight to your actions. And this ties into, I think now we are going to see basically what I think may be the final character growth lesson for Luffy to become the man who can be King of the Pirates, which is how to not revert to your most childish self, how to not let the most childish parts of you control you. I think it is both going to be a mistake and not to free Loki.
Oh, wait, before you do that, can I go back into something? Because it'll make your point stronger.
You go.
So we'll go back in. Yeah, so I have always said that, like, I started this piece out in I was watching some of the very first video. My God, the sound quality
was not good. We have gotten, our sound quality has improved drastically. How did you put up with it, guys? You're crazy. You're tough.
You guys are such good kids, because that is some shit sound. I mean, but we didn't know what we were getting into, and we just kind of jumped in because we had a thing we wanted to do, and we had a desire to hang out and talk together, and then it ended up becoming our own little obsession together.
Yeah.
But when I was listening to me talking about how we are reminded how dumb Luffy is right away by the fact that he stabs himself in the face, more and more and more as I've been reading this moving on, I've started to see Luffy as a different kind of character. I've started to think about somebody who's actually quite smart, but they're smart because they have tremendous observation hockey, like off the goddamn chart observation hockey. And because they have this off the chart observation hockey.
But can I add an addendum before this tear continues? Because I think it'll help frame it for people. Because the thing you might not remember is we've talked about how the way we see observation hockey is, it is shaped by the individual. Eneru sees the goings on of his entire kingdom like ants. Asa and Kobe feel the emotions of everyone around them, feel their suffering. Luffy specifically senses and knows what people want and need. That is how he sees the world. That is how his observation has manifested. So we've been interpreting observation not just as this superpower, but as this ability, or how you see the world shapes how you use observation hockey. The person who is careful and wants to plan ahead and protect everyone, Katakuri, was our first example of future sight.
Yeah, exactly.
Shanks, whose entire shtick is protecting people, a protection racket where he keeps pirates safe who aren't strong enough to have safety for themselves, has the best future sight. Luffy shapes his future sight while in a fight with the explicit goal of being strong enough to protect his crew. So observation hockey through the series is entirely shaped by how you see others, how you interpret the world. So that's why she's referring to this as observation hockey, because Luffy has always been better at seeing what people want and need. Continue.
Exactly. So I started to notice that when I thought about the quote unquote irrational way that Luffy Leroy Jenkins into everything, and that he gets to a fight and rather than thinking out every single little thing, he immediately starts to act. And therefore it was an example to me of how he is not very bright and he acts before thinking. But I started to realize that if you had a ridiculous amount of observation hockey, say you were, I don't know, a sun god who had a bunch of like heightened and lifted abilities inside of you, and say you were just the type of person who kind of worked in this way as well, and a pebble goes into the pond, and instead of the pebble moving ripples slowly in your mind, in Luffy, they ripple like boom in an instant. And he sees all the possibilities and he doesn't stop to think about them. He just acts. Which would also mean that he would do things like, hey, I don't know, run in and try and talk to Saul immediately because he's acting. It would also mean that he would jump off a train and start fighting because he would already have thought of all the different things that need to happen and how to best make them happen for what the people have been saying while he was going. And so I think that Luffy has an incredible ability with observation hockey to act quickly, and he doesn't always think. Which is why I said he's incredibly brilliant, I'm now thinking. He just doesn't slow his thinking down, which is why he specifically picked the crewmates that he picked. And I said it before and people were like, I don't really agree with that. Mum's on crack. I've added that, but that's just because of the sweet pipe.
They did say you were on crack. I actually remember them saying Mama is specifically, Mama Drawk is on crack. Did you guys know she smoked the sweet pipe and now she's hooked?
Smoked the sweet pipe and now she's on crack.
You remember that one episode of American Dad where Stan does crack? Anyways,
And so I think that what happened with Luffy is he said that he needed to have maybe this many or this many people, and he wanted to have a musician and he wanted to have this person. And then he invites people to be on his crew really quickly. And I think everyone that he's ever invited would have been a very integral part of his crew that he would have used and would have liked. Because like I said before, I think his observation hockey lets him know when the right hockey, the right person, the right skills, that he's met them, the things that pick him up, the things that he doesn't have. And so because of that, Nami stops him. She's a far thinker. She plans out more than him. And so when he's acting, Nami's stopping and going, hey, no. And every single person on the crew does something that Luffy cannot do, which makes them strong together.
Can I tell you why I just want to add to this before I go, why I think you're so right about him, his observation helping him pick the right crewmate. Guys, think about this, right? We've talked before about how our theory is the way they've been powering up. Whenever the Straw Hats have suddenly got stronger, it's by carrying each other's will. Zoro gets through the fight with King after briefly talking with Sanji about how Sanji needs him to put him down. He's carrying on Sanji's will to remain himself and strengthening. The crew gets stronger in Eni's lobby the second they find out Robin did it to save them because they know she loves them and needs to be saved. They are carrying her will and it's strengthening them. The thing that makes them stronger than the Blackbeard pirates, who are just chosen for strength and personal ambition, is they carry the ambition of each other's. Hockey means will or ambition. When I say the way Luffy's observation hockey works is he understands and senses the wants and desires and needs of others, and Mama's saying he can sense their hockey, that's the same thing. Because your will to change the world, what you want of the world, what drives you is your hockey. It is the source of your power in this world. Because this is a series fundamentally about your drive to change the world, of your drive to accomplish things. So Luffy having this innate sense for what people want is sensing their hockey, because hockey isn't an ambiguous power system. It's not driven by midichlorians. It's driven by you and what you want, what you need, what you must accomplish and obtain. That's what he senses. Yeah. And I think Blackbeard is very, very similar, which is why he says, oh, a kid of that hockey. I think Blackbeard's observation is also telling what people want and need.
Exactly.
It's just Blackbeard.
And how he can use it.
It's just that Blackbeard wants to use it, exactly, instead of build it up in others and carry the will himself.
So can I add to that? Because that's when I realized one of the coolest things ever then. And you mentioning Blackbeard is a really good tie-in. So for me, when you look at Blackbeard, he has the exact same type of hockey as Luffy. He is able to see things and what people want and how you could use people is how Blackbeard interprets it. Whereas Luffy sees it as how you can lift others and give them agency and purpose. And so it made me realize when I think about how fast Luffy acts, that there are some people in this world who want to give strength to people who are smaller and less powerful than them. They want to add their own power to help people become more powerful. They want to step in and give voice or let others use their voice so that they can be heard. And Blackbeard is a person who would want to take that away and only let them have it if it also strengthens his agenda. And there's a lot of people for whom they're all about agenda. Luffy, on the other hand, is a person. So
you're saying the agenda piece community are Blackbeard pilled. They're Blackbeard minded. They are seeing everyone's potential for the agenda.
Whereas I think what's really interesting is Luffy, you can tell as a character, is intrinsically good because he doesn't take forever to think about it and how it will strengthen people. He just acts. He observes, and it moves through him like a explosion. And he picks out all the nuances and acts immediately. And how does he act? Almost, I'd say 7 times out of 10, really good. 10 times out of 10, good intentions. 3 times out of 10, it turns out pretty shit. But his intent, now we know when we look at it through that lens, is that Luffy is an incredible human being filled with the good. He is everything that is good.
Which is why I want to get to what we have now, which is the final lesson for Luffy to learn. The last lesson Luffy has to learn, and I think importantly, when you're talking about his crew strengthening his weaknesses and making him act better, I think importantly, his conversation with Loki was without anyone else to help him. And it started by his selfish desire to run off without his crew and leave them behind, despite the fact that he needs his crew to be at his best. Now,
and then he learned from that.
Genuinely, I was trying to think, when was the last time we saw Luffy make the kind of face he's making while keeping a secret? Because he's grown past this so much. And I think the last time is genuinely the fucking chapter 1 prologue when he's talking with Shanks. I think the lesson we have to learn is that he hasn't fully grown up yet until conversations about his idol Shanks don't revert him to a more childlike self, until Shanks isn't this figure who he sees as above him, that he needs to impress. I think the last stage Luffy needs is when Shanks isn't a vulnerability, when he is so confident that he is an emperor, that he is at the summit of the pirate world, that he is Shanks's equal, that he doesn't have this inability to maintain his best self in the story of someone. The anger and the lying, everything around Loki was more immature. It was more childlike without his crew to ground him, and with the conversation being about Shanks. I think Luffy lost his maturity because we see a mature, respectful, thoughtful Luffy. We see a grown man who will be king of the pirates in most of this section, and I think it's really intentional by Oda that we see him around his crew being his most mature and thoughtful shortly after we see a very immature Luffy, a Luffy making faces and decisions very, very similar to how he was as a kid around his idol Shanks. So I think what we're seeing is him reverting to his worst, weakest self because Shanks is being brought up, and he hasn't grown up to see himself as Shanks' issue. And
he's not with his crew, and his crew
grounds him. His crew gives him the reason to feel responsible. So I think his decisions around Loki, people are asking, is he going to be in the right or the wrong? I think he's going to be good intentioned. So I don't even know if he's going to be good intentioned this time. I think it might actually, there's a chance that we might be seeing a more selfish Luffy in this moment because he is going out of his way to hide something by talking with Loki, which I don't think he'd do if he thought Loki was a good person. We'll see if he maintains the secrecy around his friends. If he just has the secret around the giants, he might believe Loki's a good person. I think otherwise, if he's keeping the secret from his crew too, he is being more selfish, more childlike than he's been because it's about Shanks and it's reverting him to his more basic, less thoughtful self. So I think
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's evidence for that, because he does have Shanks moments when his crew is around, and his crew does the thing that he knew they would do when he chose them with hockey.
Mm-hmm.
They ground him. They let him act properly within the moment. But when they're not around, he completely reverts to this child.
Well, I also agree that Shanks shooting Barto might ruin his opinion of Shanks slightly, because Luffy... Shanks is a thoughtful person thinking about the fact that he's a protector, right? Shanks is a protector. His reputation is his ability to protect, but Luffy doesn't protect. He builds. He makes people strong enough to protect their own freedom. Him building up Yamato to realize his drive was to protect Wano as Odin did, that he couldn't leave Wano unprotected, was building up the freedom of others by saying, hey, the world you want is a world where Wano is safe, so you are going to protect it instead of chasing something. He built Momo to be strong enough to stand against Green Bull. He builds up people, whereas Shanks, it doesn't help. He wants to be strong enough to be the patriarch, to be the force that lets others be weak so they can live a peaceful life. And granted, the life that Shanks's crew, his fleet lead, is easier and more peaceful than Luffy's fleet, who have been built up to be strong, to struggle, to fight. But the world can't change by one good man keeping a few people he likes safe. The world changes by those who strive for freedom being strong enough to pursue it themselves. Luffy is becoming more free by inspiring a more free and capable world. And I think we are seeing
something that he's realized as he's aged and matured and become a better leader, which I was talking about earlier when I said it was a thesis, because Luffy realized, I am not going to be the freest version of me unless others are the freest version of them.
Because you can only be the freest you in a more free world.
Exactly.
That's the difference between him and Shanks. And Shanks is having to do things he doesn't want to do to preserve the freedom of others. Luffy's drive to be the freest man will make a more free world, because there's only so much freedom you can make by selling it to people with your strength, or buying it for people with your strength and selling it to them with loyalty. That only makes the world so free, and that costs Shanks freedom. He didn't want to destroy Barto, but he had to keep the persona to preserve the freedom of others. Luffy wants to be the most free, and Blackbeard's the opposite. Blackbeard hasn't sold his freedom to buy the freedom of others, but he has cost the freedom of others to buy his own freedom. Luffy does neither. He inspires others to have the strength, conviction, and character to make the world more free for each other, to build up a more free world for all of us. He is in the perfect middle ground of his two parallels, Shanks and Blackbeard. Blackbeard, who wants to buy his freedom with the cost of the freedom of others, and Shanks, who wishes to buy the freedom of others at the cost of his own freedom. I love this. I love the fucking, this is so strong. Ugh.
It's so strong. Yeah. And it's funny because we were coming from different directions, and we came into the center and we're like, goddamn, we're about to see some very interesting things come up.
Mm-hmm. And then Emu goes into it too, where Emu kind of doesn't have freedom or provide freedom. Emu has power at the cost of their own freedom and the freedom of others. Emu can't go to the corner store and get a snack. Emu can't go to a Sabayouti. Emu is a strange thing where, yeah, if you have the four corners, you have a man who creates freedom. Luffy's the opposite. Holy fuck, Luffy's not the opposite of Blackbeard. He's the opposite of Emu. Think about it, right? Emu has neither freedom and doesn't give freedom. Shanks loses freedom to buy the freedom of others. Blackbeard takes the freedom of others to give himself freedom, and Luffy builds up the freedom of those around him to give himself freedom. That's the quartet. Shanks isn't the opposite, or Blackbeard's not the opposite of Luffy. He's kind of the opposite of Shanks. This is making me rethink things.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know how yeah, okay. So
do you know the shit, dude? I don't know how Buggy fits into this. He probably does. You go.
You know, at the risk of it being a poetry heavy day, you know what? No, screw that. Poetry. You're a licensed poet.
I'm a licensed goddamn poet.
We should be bringing in poetry way more often.
Frankly. Y'all, I have some good poems, y'all.
This reminds me of the author of The Little Prince, Antoine de Saint. I don't know how do you pronounce his name. It's like Exparé. I don't know. It's French, and I'm not French.
It is. C'est français.
C'est français.
Every once in a while, I pronounce a French word so well, and I'm like, damn, I'm good. And then I try to pronounce a different French word, and it sounds fucking brutal. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not French. What it turns out is, as a child, I took 2 years of francophonie, and because of that, there's a couple of words that stuck in the old brain.
There's a little French left inside of there.
Yeah, it's not consistent. It cannot be drawn on. Anyways, you go. Little Prince.
He wrote this poem, and I swear to God, it encapsulates everything that you just said. He wrote it inside of The Little Prince.
Okay, hit me up. Hit me up, fam.
It's short. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea.
And that's Luffy. He is creating freedom for himself by creating freedom for others. And God, this do we need to just... I want to do party piece, but do we need to add to the party piece day next week where we talk about our ultimate Christmas parties? Do we need to add a quick discussion about the 4 corners of freedom with Blackbeard, Luffy, Emu, and Shanks?
Super quick, but yes. Yes. But yes. So the very first party piece we're doing, let's just talk about it now. We've decided to do Christmas party piece.
I am so excited. I know my first pick, and if I lose the die roll and you go first, I have to pick what first 2, because we're doing a snake draft. So if you go second, you get to pick 2. And I feel like the 2 need to be a good pair to make up for losing the first pick. It's going to be so much fun. I'm
going to tell some people here what we're doing first, because some people have come back for... Some people have come back for One Piece and don't know. We're going to be doing something called Party Piece. In the future, we're going to do it with others. We've already invited guests who are going to come and hang out with us to do Party Piece. There is a gazillion different types of parties we're going to do. Everything from a LAN party to a Christmas party to a house party to a dinner party, but a bunch of weird parties too, like a political party. Yeah,
I think the way I think we should do it best is we either do a topical one where we don't roll randomly, or we will roll randomly when there's no like seasonal reason, when there's no like when Halloween's not coming up or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Murder mystery key sleepover, and we do a draft.
I can't believe you put Key Party on the wheel. You did. But...
You can get over it. It's going to be so funny. And we do really a draft.
Funny, and whoever gets Rayleigh, the issue is actually, I think Rayleigh on his own isn't that good. I think you genuinely need Rayleigh and Shockey. So whoever goes second.
Let me describe this first, and then we'll talk, because we were going to get into the minutia. And so we're going to only have a certain amount of straw hats in it, and then a few other different people. We roll a dice. You get to choose who you pick for this party, and we are competing against each other for ultimate party. And then in YouTube, you get to vote for whose party was better, who had the better party.
And I am guessing I am never going to win, and it's always going to be you or the guest. Look, don't get me wrong. I know I'm the heel of this duo. That's how it is. I'm Jin Drawk, and I'll accept it. The heel gets a lot. We get a lot, but we don't win popularity polls, you know?
Dude, you're amazing. It's not going to be a popularity poll. You're going to pick an amazing party. No.
I think the vote between you and the guest is not going to be a popularity poll, and the vote between me and you will be.
I think everyone needs to vote based upon the party they think is going to be best. I really want it to be a genuine which party is better.
I hope it is. Because like...
Mono, don't vote for them just to vote for them.
Yeah. Vote for who you think's win. Don't vote for someone just because it's who they are. Vote for the better contender.
When is our first party piece? What date is our first party piece?
Our first party piece is next Sunday, and we're doing a Christmas party. Yeah. And I think we need to add in an hour where we talk about the 4 pillars of freedom with Buggy in the center. I think the more I think about it, Buggy's the illusion of freedom, right? No one's really free. They're following orders. The people he buys freedom for with the bounties become criminals.
If you want to talk about freedom, don't do it now.
Okay.
And then I will agree to it. Because otherwise you were ruining all the talking of freedom and this freedom instead of next.
The rules as I see it for party piece are you need to pitch how your people fit together. It kind of works as a debate. And it's a snake draft. So first person goes, second person goes, and then whoever's last for however many people we have, we're thinking between us 2 and then 4 at most. Whoever's last picks 2 in a row, and it goes back across. So the first person gets the advantage of whoever the obvious choice is. Like, let's say you're doing Halloween party and you think the obvious choice is Kinemon because he can make costumes for everybody. First person gets the advantage of getting Kinemon, but then if there's 4 people, they don't get to pick again until like 8 more characters are gone. And then are
you suggesting that we get to pick from anyone in the entire world? I thought we were going to have like a certain number of people. No. Oh, you're suggesting open season, but not open straw hat season.
No. So then the other rule
we roll for straw
limit
hats.
is 2 straw hats per person. Every person can only bring 2 straw hats. Otherwise, it's unfair. And I think. I want your opinion now. We decide here and now. Chat, you get your opinion, okay? The last person in a snake draft picks 2 at a time. Everyone else picks 1 at a time. And then when it comes back to the first person, they pick 2 at a time again. Everybody, chat, I need your opinion on this, okay? Do honorary straw hats, Bonchan, VV, And I would argue at this point, Yamato, do they count for the straw hat limit or not?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Let's let chat decide.
Chat thinks they don't count.
Chat is all no. Oh, except for a yes there.
The issue is, I think Yamato isn't that broken of a choice, but I think there's a lot of parties where Bonchan feels like a broken choice, but that's just his devil fruit, and I think that's fine. I think there's devil fruits.
I have another question for chat, because we had a little bit of a mini argument about this a long time ago. Does a funeral count as a party? I mean, we do count some things as a funeral party.
A wake counts as a party.
The wake counts as a party, because I think we should have a funeral.
I think we should have an Irish wake.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think Irish wake is on the list, but not a funeral.
I cannot wait for party piece. I cannot wait. So the first party piece we are doing, is just Drawk and I, and then from that moment on, unless we want to do one just for us, because we have one that we want to do, because we want to do this particular one together. From that moment on, it's going to be a thing we do with guests.
Yes. Sometimes we won't, just because we won't be able to find one, but it'll be an attempt to do guests.
Or because we want to do it alone.
Or we want to do it alone. I also want to say something else, guys. This is so important. This is so important to say before we continue. You know, it's crazy. I forgot. Whatever. I actually had something that was really funny. I'm pretty sure I was excited to say it. Oh, well, it's gone.
That's ridiculous. That was the most ridiculous thing ever. I love it.
Today. My brain's so dead. I can't believe it was important.
That was very important, and thank you for that.
That was so important.
Sam, if you give us a Jewish party,
it wasn't funny, but it's important. It's important. Guys, non-Irish white people ruined the word wake.
Non-Irish white people. Okay, well, thank you for that. That was important.
I've been to Irish wakes because we have Irish people in our family, and they're like, I want to wake, and it was a little bit more fun than a funeral, right? But non-Irish white people started, because funeral has a sad tone, calling all of their funerals wakes, and then just having it be a normal sad ass funeral. And now all of the non-Irish white people are constantly being like, oh, guys, it's a wake. And then it's just a sad ass funeral. There's none of the cheer, because they're like, well, it's disrespectful at a funeral to have happy music and games. And like, it's not a wake. It's a funeral. Stop.
I better have a proper wake when I croak.
I want a fucking wake. Stop. If you're going to have a funeral, don't call it a wake.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I better get a wake. If I don't get a wake, I'm going to be mad.
Call it a funeral.
Okay. We got to move forward, because we got to wrap this up soon. So let's move forward.
All right.
Okay, moving. So there was a couple of things that I absolutely loved in here. As Robin is going forward and Nami pulls Luffy back, and you're like, 100%, that was amazing, and that's why Luffy chose his crew. And then to see that Saul intentionally laid down on the beach and pretended to be...
we gotta say this,
beached again, and everyone is like, oh my god, and immediately Robin gives a little smile and is like, you need to stay there, everything is fine. And he did the exact thing that he needed to do. And to watch the two of them try to prepare for each other, she cuts her bangs. And might I just remember everybody that Nami knew she would cut her bangs. Nami even said, I thought you would do that when she got off the boat. Like, I thought you would change her hair. I think it's great,
because she kept her look from being a child all the way till now, because she was only living for the people who she knew as a child. And I feel like her growing out her hair, I know some people don't like it as much, was her saying, I can be the me that I am for the Straw Hats. I can be a different Robin. But in this moment, it meant both her and Saul were so nervous about being able to reconnect that they needed to be for each other what they were for each other when they met. And it's so beautiful. Ugh. Oh, did you cut out? Are you gone?
No, I'm right here. That was exactly what I was saying too. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I bugged out for a minute. Just ignore me.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, people. Don't worry about it.
Then when Robin gets up there and Nami has her little future sight, as I've always said, because she's like a weather witch, like Nami's observation hockey is off the charts. And so then Robin gets up there and he did the exact thing she needed to feel good. The exact thing. He was he showed her that he was also nervous, but that he also wanted to make an effort for her to be able to remember him the way he was. And how does she remember him? She remembered him the first time, laying on the beach. And that's how they met each other, and that's how they're going to re-meet each other. And then when she gets up there and she's wearing her little outfit, and he's laying in the sand, and then he growls at her and she laughs, I immediately, that's when I knew. That's when I cried. I just sat there and looked at him, and he goes, "What a shocker. Robin, you're not a kid anymore. Sorry, I wasn't sure about how to greet you." And then she laughs, and you still have that silly laugh. And then he picks her up in his big hands and holds her up to his face. And in that moment, I felt like I was getting to watch her father, after all of these years, pick her up and surround her in love. And then what does he say to her right away? "Well, look how lovely you are now. You remind me of Olivia. You're just like..."
I briefly thought about how weird it would be to age so slowly and be like, it is kind of weird that I've only aged, I mean, the equivalent of like 10 human years, and the little girl you met is like a grown, fully adult, like 30-year-old woman.
Yep.
That would feel so surreal. Like the giants, elves in fantasy, like there's gotta be so many weird things of that when you make friends with humans.
But I want to talk about the thing that this person mentioned, because that was, can you imagine being told you're a monster? Everyone says that you're responsible for the death of all these people.
It's so
and
nice.
Then he says, "You've got her gentle eyes, Robin." And he gives her the gift of seeing her soul.
Ugh.
And then you go over and it says, and you're thinking to yourself, how could this get sadder? Well, hold on to your ties, humans.
I'm holding.
And then he goes, "I was there on the island, but I couldn't really make it out. I had to learn about it from the paper." Well, when he said history is told by the winners, and you're thinking, well, I know who the winners are. And then he goes, those words came from O'Hara. If they were left to be buried in history, they would have vanished without being heard. The scholars of O'Hara sent out their voices, and Vegapunk's a scientist. He doesn't speak on good and evil, but he gave his life to pass those voices on. It's a huge step forward, made possible by O'Hara and Vegapunk's sacrifices.
It's so fucking
It was amazing. Amazing. It was just so amazing. It was everything that we wanted. Him telling us how big this is going to be in the future.
Hey, anyone who wanted Saul to stay dead, you still feel that way? You still happy?
You want Saul dead?
Oh yeah, I don't want that. It's that fucking meme of the guy being like, "This fucking sucks," and behind him is something labeled.
You want to know
literally
where,
the coolest shit ever.
If you still want Saul dead after this one, bless you for being alive, Robin. 22 whole years. Bless you for surviving, and bless you for coming to see me. Because he understands how hard it would have been for her to stay alive. He said how angry he got when he found out about what they said about her. And he understands how hard it would have been. And she said, "I just want to die. I just want to die." And then she says, "I missed you so much, Saul." And he says, "Rashishi, I missed you too."
Her asking to be recognized for working so hard to survive is so cute. Like, all I want to know is that you are proud of me for trying so hard.
Exactly, because she doesn't care about anything else. She just cares that he understands how hard she works to be alive. You know what? We're ending here and we're moving into Berserk.
There's one last thing that I need to say.
I want to say something before you last. You can be last thing. Well, can I just say that the way they ended this chapter, they have all of the friends standing there and blubbing, except for Luffy, who's got a great big smile on his face right there. Everyone is blubbing. And I immediately said, holy shit, we're going to get to see Robin introduce the friends he promised her she'd have.
Yeah, I also, this goes to what I was, by the way, we got 2 comments that I love on our ranking Straw Hat Dynamics video, because one person said, oh my god, I'm so glad someone sees how important, beautiful Robin and Luffy's relationship is about me, and someone else said, I'm so glad Mama sees how important and beautiful Nami's relationship is with Luffy. Like, because those were both of our favorites. My favorite was Robin and Luffy, your favorite was Nami and Luffy, and we got comments specifically about it, and I think that's great. But this is fucking beautiful. Before we go, someone asked who we think the figure is, and okay guys, this is gonna sound like tinfoil hat stuff, but I need you to bear with me. I think it's Yorkie from Brooke's backstory.
Yeah,
let me walk through why. The first time we see him is on a chapter a chapter cover that came after every other Straw Hat had just had a chapter cover showing someone from their past reacting to the bounty. Okay, why would Shiki care about Brooke's bounty? Dude, let me get through it. Why would Scopper Gabon care about his bounty? There's no good reason for either of those 2 characters to care, and there's not really a great reason for Laboon to react to Scopper Gabon, or especially Shiki.
Exactly.
Okay?
Like, why would Laboon care about either of them?
Now, to continue this, when I was watching through Wano with my wife, who is not manga caught up, all right, she pointed out that when Black Maria is showing allusions to Brooke and Robin, the main ones talking are Saul and Yorkie. And my wife went, oh, I bet those 2 are still alive, and he's doing this to remind us about these 2 so it means something when we see them again, okay?
Yeah.
And when she said that, okay, Saul still being alive had just been shown in the manga. Like, a couple months before she said that, when we were watching, Saul had just been confirmed to still be alive in the manga. Crazy. And my wife had just pointed out, oh, I bet Saul and Yorkie are still alive, and that's why they're the only ones talking in this flashback.
Those are the ways you pick out the things. Like, Oda isn't just showing you shit for no reason.
Yeah. So they have already been connected as important figures from the past. We don't have that many arcs left, and we were just shown both of them in the past, right? We were just shown both of them as important figures for Straw Hats, who they are still a little bit hung up on and thinking about. So it kind of makes sense. They've already been connected, and we don't have that much longer. If Oda was, in fact, showing us, right? If Oda was showing us Saul in the flashback with Black Maria for the sake of reminding us how important Saul is, to make it more meaningful when he was still alive, doesn't it make sense he would also be doing that for Yorkie? Okay?
Yeah.
Narratively, that makes sense. And also, there's just not that much space left to show us Yorkie still being alive, if that was why both of them were included. And he could have pretty easily managed, Oda could pretty easily have managed to have the illusion just be Saul talking, or just be inflicting Robin. Now, could have just been a good character moment to show both of their growth, but it feels weird to use it to remind us about one of them and not the other. And we see Laboon friggin' ecstatic seeing this figure. Laboon losing his shit about this person. Yeah, Laboon died off screen. You know who else died in a flashback? Jaguar D. Saul, and here he is. He also died off screen. He left to go find a crew. Everyone is saying, is Yorkie the man marked by flames? I don't know. I'm not interested in the man marked by flames.
So I'm going to say one thing about the cover, and I'm not going to go into it deeply. Maybe I'll go into it later, but we have to get into Berserk.
We do have to get into this before Berserk. If you can finish it fast, we only went a little over 2 hours based off of the stuff that'll be cut out from the beginning.
I have 1 hour 22.
Yeah. What?
On how long we've been there so far.
Okay.
Mine says 122. Oh, yeah, because I went off and on.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to chapter 1133, where it says nice things with the Ogre Child Yamada's Golden Harvest, Surrogate Pilgrimage, hold an attacks, drop your valuables. So I was looking at it, and I looked up the word, yeah, there we go, the word Golden Harvest. And there's all sorts of different implications in it in Japanese wisdoms, and which makes sense because this is a Japanese thing. And so I think that Yamamoto is almost at the end of this sequence, and that they are going to finish this juxtaposition between them living a life for Odin and then living a life for themselves. And they're going to get to feel like they get to leave their ogre child status behind and grow up and become the man that they want to be, which means that when they get to the end of this, that they are going to, I think they are going to, I don't know if it's going to be the weapon or what it's going to be. I feel like I agree with Drawk that we're going to have Blackbeard come into this universe, but I think that we're going to have Yamato join our crew again soon. I think we're going to see it happening soon. And I think that Oda was using the Golden Harvest title to let us know, because in Japanese, one of the things it means is that people start to reap the benefits of what they sow, that there's a connection between apparently Amaterasu and the Golden Harvest, because it's believed that the sun god gave you everything that you needed, that you worked on the behalf of the sun god, your family, your country, your home, and you sowed everything that you needed, and together you reap the harvest of all your good deeds, and you get the things you want. You start to see returns on the stuff that you planted. And we can see that with Robin and Saul, and we can see that coming up with Yamata. And I think we're going to have a lot of endings, and it's another form of warning from Oda that we're coming near the end.
I just had a realization of what you're talking about. So based off what you're talking about, so we have Yamato here reaping what was sown by the sun god in Wano, reaping the fruits of all of this effort. And I agree that this is tying into this being an arc where Oda gets to plant, pick all the seeds that he's sown. But I also think it's interesting. There's an implication that the previous world order was ended with the flood myth, which is one myth of one world ending so a new one can be started. And Ragnarok is also a myth about a world ending so that the next one can start. And Ragnarok, which is a later myth, is now beginning as the next end time that ends the time of the world government. The dawn of the world is Ragnarok. It is the next mythology of a world ending so another can begin. This is, oh God, I'm excited. I think we got in.
I can't believe we're in 2 stories with Ragnarok. Okay, so let's do a wrap up for this for YouTube. Can I get a little 10 to 1, please? Quit talking about Pearl, people. Pearl is a figment of your imagination. Do a little 10 to 1 countdown. 10 to 1 countdown.
My name ain't Pearl.
Did you see that Dr. Jack did it? He went 1. Okay, I'm going to go unhinged, Drawk. I'm going to go unhinged.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Coming to you live from the studio of Momzerk and Drawk. I want to welcome you to One Piece Talk. Are you a person who...
I feel welcomed.
If you like One Piece, this is the place for you. This is the place where you peace, you won, you peace. You talk, you think, you dream, you do stuff. It's a family. We rock out together. It's a very Luffy style. Come on board the crew. Why don't you subscribe? Subscribing will give you such things as better vision, pretty pictures, joy that'll fill your heart, a drum beat that will reverberate through your town. People will say, where's that drum beat coming from? It's you. I hope that you can come in, and if you like this, like it. It's strange not to like things you liked. Come on over to our Discord. You can become a part of the Chit Chat family of Chit Chatty Oceany. If you want to send us crap, you can see that right there in Saul's mouth. He is holding our address. That is where the crap goes to. Eventually, Canada will not have a postal strike, and we can get the things you sent us again. And this is the time to do a little dance, press a little button, do a little turn, and subscribe. Hit the bell like Luffy, reach up with that golden arm, be godlike, and ding, 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 ding. You are now a subscriber. Here's my second one. Yo. Subscribe. Like.
Motherfucker. Whoa, that's good. That yo had flavor. That was a good yo. Yeah. Okay. Is that One Piece?
Yeah, I think that's One Piece. We're not going to do any of the like outfits or anything, but can I just say top characters? It's Robin, it's Saul. They're number 1. They're adorable. Who would you give 2?
My number 2 for this zone is Loki. I think we have rarely seen a character this instantly compelling.
I hate him, but yes. Number 3, I'm going to give to the pirate couple that are running away with the boat, who love them, who are part of their crew. And when he says, we're like him, but we're nothing like him. We're not like him at all. We're not weird like he was.
I love Gerd being like, I love humans so much, but not like Road. Don't go. That feels.
Don't compare me to him.
Okay.
What's number 4?
I know we're trying to go fast, but I want to say the vibe of that absolutely felt like a trans ally trying to be like, I'm an ally, but I'm not a chaser. That's the vibe I got.
You weirdo.
Look,
I agree with Dr. Jack. Can we make number 4 Nami?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
she is
Nami. We agreed actually when we're doing recaps of a section of chapters, we only do 3 characters. Sorry, Nami. That was actually an agreement we had in the past.
Oh my God! Honorable mention to Nami.
How could I not? When that's true, how could I not take advantage of a new way to kick Nami off the list? That was literally a new way.
Awful.
Tell me that wasn't hilarious what I just did, though.
That was so good. It's so terrible. Okay. Oh God, poor Nami. I'm so sad right now.
Oh man.
Oh. Okay.
The top 3 was Sol and Robin at number 1, number 2 Loki, number 3 Gerd, and what's the fat giant's name again? I can't remember.
I don't know. That other dude.
It's something. He's got a name.
And then honorable mention to Nami. Oh my God. Okay, so if you aren't a One Piece person, I really hope that you stick around. We are reading Berserk.
Dude, Berserk is so good.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It's heartbreaking. Everyone's right, but it's so good.
Yeah. We were both pretty pissed off this last time that we weren't allowed to read more.
And reading so bad.
And we were like, and I told you, what if I just read? And it's Berserk. What if I just read? I don't know why I can't just read.
Berserk is only when we're talking about dicks. Otherwise, it's Momzerk.
Otherwise, it's Momzerk. I'm going to tell you, though, that being the person who was like, no, you can't read, that is the only reason I didn't read ahead, is because I told you you couldn't read ahead.
Yeah, no, I figured that it would help both of us if I said, what if I read ahead? I thought it would help you be good, because there's 2 types of people in this world. There's types of people who hear that and are like, ooh, temptation. And then there's people who hear that and they're like, then I get to be the good one if I do good.
Exactly, and you have labeled me correctly, sir.
Look, I'm the same way. One of the best strategies to get me to stop spending irresponsibly is for my wife to go, oh, I'm spending irresponsibly, have my credit card, because then I'm like, well, now I'm the trustworthy one, so I must work very hard to be trustworthy with money.
Exactly. I will be so good with money now. It's ridiculous.
Me being given her credit card makes me better with money. That is 100% true.
That is not a lie. Okay, so should we get Zirkin?
I think we went up to like an hour 20. I'm sorry, Cricket. We tried, but we kept realizing there was stuff. It's a big chapter. All right. I think we get Zirkin. I
say we get Zirkin.
Hear me out on what I want to Zirk today in my drawing.
Because otherwise we don't do a beginning. I don't have a Japanese poem for this.
Okay. Wait. I think I know how to begin this. Ready?
Okay, ready?
Come for the shadows, come for the shadows, come for the shadows in these golden years. Ooh,
golden years, golden years.
Wop, wop, wop.
Don't let them say like taking you nowhere, angel. All right, here we go.
Can we just say that is the most underrated Bowie song? The fact that that's not everybody's go-to Bowie song is crazy.
The fact that people don't immediately, why do people say put your glasses on? You know what? He's going to get some fun glasses eventually. People say put your glasses on nonstop.
Something happened. There's a meme we don't understand.
There's going to be some kind of cool glasses, and they're going to put them on.
Come for the shadows in golden.
Did you switch the title yet?
We do not read live. We come in. Oh yeah, the little title cards at the bottom to get swapped. So hey, if you're no, YouTubers aren't watching this, don't worry. How do I describe this section? Wow, this is what Mr. Guts Berserk.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I got this. Okay, you know what? That was me doing Mr. Miyagi hands. Yeah. So remember last time when I was saying that we immediately knew that this is a person who had been very, very essayed.
That is a thing that you said. You said that he'd been incredibly essayed, if I remember incorrectly.
I was like, anytime somebody touches him gently, he has a freak out, da 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 da. Well, congratulations, me. He was definitely essayed, and we have to see it. I
genuinely
terrible.
feel like, let me be honest about what happened to him.
Yeah.
There are no words that are Twitch legal that can accurately describe what happened.
He was sold for 3 silver pieces.
And after seeing later what's worth 7 gold pieces, I have to say, while probably not an inconsiderable amount of money,
3 gold pieces or 3 silver pieces.
No, later we see the only reference I have for the economy is killing a big guy with an axe is worth 7 gold.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't say that Gambino was doing his best. That was Drawk.
That was Drawk. And let me tell you, at the point that I was, I think Gambino was, honestly, guys, we can't think highly of a mercenary. I think he's a bad guy. He's a very bad man. He deserved what he got. I don't think there's no reason that Guts loved him and feels bad for having killed him, because he does. Guts is not, like, it breaks Guts' heart. Now, do I think...
Can I help make this section a little better, though?
Yeah.
Because we decided that we were going to do the Happy Berserk.
We're doing Happy Berserk.
So it's pretty hard in this section, let's be honest. First of all, he fights like a wildcat. He fights like a absolute wildcat against a guy who looks very similar to the guy he meets later on. He's got that big old ugly face again and head.
This dude loves big ugly face guy. Now it does make me wonder: is our new friend big ugly face guy?
They're all related, if I'm going to be honest here. He fights like he even says he fights like a wildcat. Oh shit, I got it from the actual manga. I did not know that. Okay, so let's go into this because there's something that I thought was
the material.
Yeah, accidentally. I'm so good at accidentally referencing our material. So something that I was noticing when I was watching this that I thought was, it was amazing that this person, while he's essaying him, also wanted to crush his soul because he thought he was fighting too hard. So he said that you're wriggling all over the place and I paid good money to you. As if paying good money for someone actually gives up your agency over your own body, by the way.
Yeah, that's actually really meaningful.
Very meaningful. And then there's the image where he is over top of him and we see him just before he's about to essay him very badly. And he says, no, that's a lie. And when you look at them, you'll notice that it's on a dark background and then coming out of them, the only light there is looks exactly like the roots of a tree. And so it feels like we are looking, if this was the Disney movie about emotions, that this would be a memory that would be staying for all time. That this memory is rooting itself into Guts Berserk, and it's who he is becoming. This is helping.
What? But I need to make something so clear.
What?
How fucking inherently funny the idea of Pixar's Inside Out Berserk is. Like, imagining little inside out emotions going through Mr. Guts Berserk's life is the inherently funniest concept.
It actually is. I don't think Pixar would like it.
But
I don't think Pixar would be like, please use Berserk.
Imagine the little emotions of the panel reacting to this core memory. That's horrifying in the funniest way.
Oh, I've been reminded, for people, this is a content warning. We're going to be talking about mature and difficult subject matter. If you don't feel like this is for you, please look away. Go to something happier. May I suggest sparkles, ponies, kittens, and puppies? Okay. And so when he is being badly essayed, there is roots coming out of this so that we're watching this take root in his personality, and this is helping to form who he's going to become. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting in it, it's like all of these scenes, when you see him, he looks kind of like Puck. that in the drawings that we get of Mr. Guts Berserk in the future, he is done more like the person who essays him. He's got shadowing and shading and darkness in him. But in these ones, he looks like Puck. It's only outlining and then his face. And then that's even done deeper when you turn the page and that man is leaving. And you see him laying on a white blanket and his knees are bent up and his arms are outstretched. And the piece of scarf that was used to tie his mouth shut behind him looks like wings. And he looks just like Puck laying on the blanket in the center of the scene. And so it made me feel more like we're making a comparison with Puck in this piece, and Puck being the unblemished version. And this was showing us in his innocence, when he was this young boy who was taken advantage of, who was broken, who was hurt. Thank you for the subscription. And then here he is laying there looking for all the world like Puck with these tiny little wings behind him. And then it goes into his numbed face. But you know what was amazing? You change the page and it goes from him laying there to him picking up a sword, wrapping a sheet around his body and coming out ready to hurt and kill. And the reason that I thought this was really amazing is for a lot of people, when they are essayed, it becomes the thing that others define them by, and it becomes the thing that they define themselves by. And instead of seeing themselves as being a victim of something or of having this thing happen to you, it becomes their personality. It becomes a cast that hangs over their body. And I had somebody who has been assaulted who once said, if you were in a car accident and you lost your leg, you wouldn't define yourself as a car accident victim for the rest of your life. That would be a thing that happened to you, not a thing that made you who you were. And so to watch him in just 2 pages go from laying there with this little tiny wings behind his back, completely broken, to standing up, wrapping a sheet around his body and grabbing a sword, made me be like, you know what, Guts? You are going to come out the other end of this, because you don't see yourself as being that moment. You see yourself as somebody who has had that moment happen to them. So that's a little happy.
That's a little happy. You got some endurance, you know, the strength of survival and will. And yeah, no, I'll take it back. Gambino wasn't trying his best. I mean, I'll be real. I think the issue really was that...
Was he trying his best to suck?
Gambino went out of his way to save Guts, even though he didn't think there would be any return on it. And every time Guts let him down at all, he is just this cruel person who says, oh, now everything wrong in my life is your fault, and I am owed recompense for having saved you. Yeah, he's a bastard.
I think that this, for me, made me so happy because I watched him get attacked. I watched this moment root in him. Yes, it's going to change him. It's going to change the way he sees the world, but he's not going to define himself as being an SA victim. I can't believe that I have to use the word SA because the R word is too strong, but men on the internet are allowed to say they're going to do that to women all the time and nobody stops them. It makes me kind of feel, what's the word?
I mean,
angry?
It does depend on the platform. So Twitch tends to be better for that kind of content, where if people are outwardly threatening others, Twitch tends to crack down. I largely think the way Twitch does moderation is pretty good. If there's any exception I have, it is the policies on slurs is not applied in a way that feels more than performative to me. And I need to tell you, do not say the word when I say this. The C slur for white people, because people made a point of, oh, why can people say this if they can't say that, is now a thing that even saying an example you will get banned for, which I think is a gross misunderstanding of what the actual danger and violence of slurs is. I think overall Twitch has some of the better moderation policies of TOS of anything I've seen. Oh wow, there's a hype train starting. I didn't even realize. I must have missed a sub we didn't thank. Oh my goodness.
There is a sub we didn't thank. It's
I can't scroll up.
DP Man Rock, and thank you, DP Man Rock. And I thought there was another one I missed. I tried to get, but I was in the middle of talking about essays, and I just thought, awkward. It was really, really hard to watch him come out when you know now that Gambino knows what happened. And
just pretend?
And he just pretends. He's like, what do you want? Yeah. He goes, Gambino? Yeah. And just looks at him. And he's standing there with a sword and this blanket wrapped around him. And you know Gambino knows. And his inability to question the man that he sees as being father adjacent and watching that was such a hard moment. But let me say that SA victims everywhere join hands and rejoice, because nothing will give you happier joy than he gets SA'd by a person. He has to go in battle with that person. They're fighting. That guy is like, I'm so strong and huge with a giant head. And everything is going great for him. And then all of a sudden, an arrow sprouts out just beside his heart, in his chest. And he turns around to be like, oh my God, what enemy got the jump on me? Oh, no, sir. That would be Mr. Guts Berserk. And what did he just do?
Yeah.
Shot a crossbow into you, piece of shit. And then you're like, oh my God, already the joy I'm feeling about this is overly joy. And then, nope, he jumps off his horse, sticks his sword through his mouth. And I stopped reading. I put down the manga, I stood up and gave him a round of applause. I figured he needed a standing ovation for that, so I took a pause to give him one.
This also, I want to take a moment here to talk about how, like, Guts is shown to be an exceptional young person when it comes to how strong he is. However, it doesn't feel like it breaks the gritty realism that we're going for. Now, obviously not realism in terms of realistic capability, because Guts' sword is impossible for a human to wield. However, it doesn't feel like he is, as a kid, already better than everyone. Like, he is struggling against the best knights. He is taking risks when he's fighting the best dudes.
He was overtaken by that man.
He was overtaken by that dude and had to use a crossbow to kill him, like, to get the jump on him and kill him. Like,
you have to delete your art, apparently? Yeah, you have to delete your art.
Interesting. I guess I'm going to be doing this a bit differently.
The background, everything in the background?
No,
the face? Okay. Yeah, I would agree with you, but I also felt like it didn't break the story at all. I don't know how many happy things they're going to be, and I don't know what people say about Berserk. They're calling it like dark all the time. I think killing this sexual assaulter might have been some of the happiest thing I've ever. I would call this happy art. When I read this, I was thinking, like, I would like to clock these pages. And then if I'm having a bad day, I would just like to look at this little revenge scene that they gave to us immediately. Like winner, chicken dinner. I felt like this was one of the happiest things I've ever seen ever. It's not every day that a victim gets to be like, oh, excuse me, will I murder you? It's incredible. Oh, do it again. And then when you go, say it again. Who sold me out? Say it. And he doesn't. I dare you to say it. I was like, I don't even care at this point. Just continue to kill him. It's so glorious. If you want to do 2 more pages of killing him, bring that happy juice on.
Look, I was really, really glad for the vengeance we got. I like how it happened. Yeah, it is low-key a comfort story. There is immediately something very appealing that Guts has been given the worst life possible, and we see him able to keep standing, keep fighting, keep living. Like, he hasn't given up, and that is immediately kind of empowering. I really do like it. I feel like if a victim of SA was able to bear through the potential triggers here, I feel as though this would be a very empowering story, because you get to see someone not be defined by it, like you said, but also withstand, persist, improve as a person. Like, again, I don't think we're going to see Guts continue as an adult to be someone who is completely broken and can't try to have happiness in his life, or it wouldn't be able to keep being soul crushing in the future, because you give up on someone who gives up on themselves.
Yeah, I would agree. And I like that I got to see him knowing that it was going to change him, but also knowing that he was going to get the revenge that not in the future. This isn't one of those cold revenges that I have to wait his whole damn life. And then in an arc a gazillion years later, he finally gets revenge.
We are getting that too, because he's clearly on a revenge path against Griffith in the future.
Obviously. But this one, this was a good revenge. High five all the way.
And we get another pretty quick revenge too in this section.
That's not a lie. That is such a good truth. Also, I'm curious, did I miss something? What is the weird shit that's covering the body? So do you remember this? Not the bad dude's body, but someone else. It looked like mud at first, I thought, but then it didn't. But it looked like there was some weird stuff on top of this one box.
Looking at the manga where you are, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's on page 31 of the big book. So if anyone has the big book and they can look at page 31, please do so. And in the middle, you get a really good look at it, but it's also in the left-hand upper corner. And I was like, what the shit is on this body? I was here for Gambino's leg coming off. I will say about Gambino's leg coming off, I don't care. Haha.
I mean, man kind of deserves. Look, I take back my Gambino placement, but hey, I'm also gonna put another character on the top 5 today that I'm gonna regret in the future. So who cares?
Oh, good for you! Is it gonna be the person I put in the top 5 last time?
Maybe, might be, could be.
Yeah, maybe,
could be,
maybe, might be. Okay.
I just want to say in this part. In this part in the future, I want to compliment the artwork because I think this unromantic, gritty, almost diagram-like depiction of medieval siege warfare is so fucking uncommon and so well done here. Like, I loved seeing it. It always looked good. These giant zoomed out sprawls, these battle scenes, all of the medieval warfare here looks incredible. And one of my favorite things is so many medieval aesthetics for armor look really dorky by modern standards, so we never represent them. And they are all over the place here. But we are able to get away with it by putting it on bad guys. So armored mittens and the big snout noses and all this dumb shit that's, you know, very effective and was a real part of medieval warfare, we are representing by showing on the bad guys. But so much medieval shit doesn't do this, and I love it. I love the aesthetic of dorky looking medieval armor, and when I see it, it makes me fucking happy. I love it. Ugh.
I have a kid in my school who makes armor, like fully makes armor.
Why are the kids in your school so sitcom coded?
I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of weird. Yeah, page 31. Some people think it looks like plague. Some people think it looks like dirt. I was like, is this a plague? So I think that's interesting that people are saying that too. I like that he goes and sits by dude's bed, even though he thinks that it's possible that he did what he did. And then as he's like, don't die on me, I'm on my way back. And then he cries, Gambino, and he's all sad. And 2 years later, he's fighting, and Gambino is this dude who's, the reason I asked about it too is because later on they do the thing where it covers a face too, and he's fighting, and Gambino is still sitting on top of a hill just with his dog, giving the dog more joy than he ever gave Guts, and loving the dog in a way that Guts would never be, which is just that subtle metaphor of Guts being lower to him than the animals in his life.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, in my world, to be fair, I often like animals better than people. So, yeah, expect that.
Dude.
Go ahead.
This whole section, I am just constantly being astounded by how human everybody feels. Like, Gambino to me feels like such a real dude. Like, you know, people like that who every nice thing they do, they think they are owed so much for that it justifies all of the evil that they do. And that's Gambino. And he's written so compellingly and well. He's so believable in his shit. Like, it's easy to write cartoonish villains, but Gambino feels like something else to me. Like, he feels like a legitimate real guy would act. Oh my God, dude. He's awful, but he's awful in a very real way.
He even kicks the dog. Like, And somebody just said, as I was looking at this page, she doesn't even like the dog that much. It's almost like he likes the dog just so that Guts can see that he likes the dog more than him.
Yeah.
And you know, lots of people who act like that.
Oh, absolutely.
A Joker then, why don't we see how sharp your wit is? I don't care if there's only two of you. If you ain't brave enough to fight a wounded man, I want to hear the crap out of you. Like he's the level of bully this person is, and the fact that he thinks that he is owed so much for so little. He's done almost nothing. Is pretty interesting because it makes him a demon who isn't a demon.
Yep.
And then Guts' life in the real world prior to being given up is also being held by demons.
The demon who isn't a demon is really fascinating because we see him here willing to sell Guts for 3 silver, right? The actual demon wasn't willing to sell his child for limitless godly power and immortality. Inherently, Gambino is worse than the actual demon because his son he'd sell for 3 fucking silver, whereas the real demon wouldn't sell his child for all of the power in the world. That comparison I hadn't thought about before is so fucking cool.
Yeah, he is the demon without being a demon. And if you look, there's a page 42 in the top left-hand corner where we see his face, and he looks as demonic as any of the actual demons that we meet later on. Thank you, Tom, too, for your subscription. There was somebody else who subscribed, and I can't find it, and it's pissing me off.
I want to briefly mention something here.
Thank you.
This is an important note, very important note. You ready?
Yeah, okay, here I go. I'm ready.
I have realized in doing Berserk with you why I spelled the word demon with a second D at the end as a child. Because it turns out that's just how you pronounce that word.
I pronounce some things different. You know that.
You have some words that you like to have fun with, and that's fine. But I've now realized why I thought it was actually spelled demon in doing this with you.
I've always pronounced demon.
Do we have an explanation for this? Do we have lore?
It sounds more evil. Deny that demon sounds cut off and demon sounds like strongly a demon.
All right.
No, it sounds stronger. The same
on.
Reason that I won't call it library because it sounds messy in your mouth, so I call it library because it's cleaner. And I'm not frustrated. I'm frustrated because saying frustrate is frustrating to say.
Well, then that one's doing its job by the logic you've used so far.
No, I hate it because I'm already in a frustrated situation and now I have to say that word and I hate it.
All I'm saying is your argument for the other words I actually kind of felt because it was that I was starting to be on your side because the mouthfeel of those words.
No, because I moved from being frustrated to angry when I have to say frustrated because it sounds gross and it changes.
If frustrated is frustrating, it's doing its job. I'll listen to you on the other two. I understand the argument. Okay. I could see language.
Demon is a way stronger word than demon.
All right. So
I'll stand behind it.
Hey, where do we move to now? What happened?
We're on page 45. He's laying in bed and he's going on about how he should stop thinking about it. And he just needs to think about surviving tomorrow and all the different enemies and earning money. And then as he's trying not to think about his life and all the shit that has happened to him, in comes Shitface, who's a crap father with a sword and a missing leg, and decides, this is the time I'm going to fight you. I also thought that he was going to essay him, and I was like, are you shitting me?
I don't think Gambino would do that in particular, not because he's not evil enough, but just, I don't know, it doesn't seem like what he'd do. He doesn't seem like that flavor of evil, you know?
No, when I looked on page 48 in the right up-hand corner, he looked like a person who might not choose to be a pedo, but a person who got drunk and angry and decided, what is the thing that I could do that would hurt this person the most?
I could see that. Never mind. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I thought that it was like his joy. It was the thing that I thought that he was saying to himself, how much could I hurt this person before I killed this person?
I absolutely think sober him wouldn't try to kill Mr. Guts Berserk. This is not to defend him, because I think there was a weird amount of affection he had for the kid despite being an evil bastard. I think drunk him got miserable about the state of his life and found someone to blame.
Yeah, and the fact that his face looks as demonic as it does all the time, like you should have died on that day 11 years ago beneath your mother's corpse. And that's when I went, 11 years ago? So when, just so that I'm clear, just so I'm clear,
you want to be
2
clear.
years have passed since he was SA'd. I guess he was 9.
Yeah.
And now he's been fighting as a mercenary for 2 more years.
Yes.
He is only 11.
Yes, he is 11,
He's
and
11 years
Gambino
old.
has been forcing him to fight because he needs to earn his keep.
So, and then he's like, just a minute here, Guts. I just want to talk about how we found you on the ground because your mother's body just sent you out after she died.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Guts, I'm gonna just remind you of all of the horrors you've experienced real quick before I try to murder you.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna murder you. Is that okay? Is that I just want to give you a clear picture of the day. I'm an MC, if you will, of the end of your life. And
MC of the end of your life? Well, don't give him that line. That's cool as fuck. MC of the end of your life is such like an action movie thing to say. What the fuck?
Help it. I say cool as shit things, and I can't help it if Gambino is in there.
That's cool as fuck, dude. That's awesome.
You know what? We should put that somewhere in the description.
That's fucking, dude, that's rad. MC of the end of your life? Yeah, you're not allowed to speak for shitty people anymore. You're too powerful, it turns out.
So then I think that
shit like that?
The author all the time is trying to make this comparison between him being a demonic person and not being a demon. And you can see that because on page 52 in the upper left-hand corner of the right-hand side, there's a freaking bolt of lightning behind him. His face is possessed. Mm-hmm. You have to give Bellamy a treat. His face looks absolutely possessed. And this is when he says, I'll let you in on something. You remember what happened the night of your first battle? Donovan bought you for 3 silver coins. Oh my God.
To bring that up, to be like, hey, you know that thing that you were clearly suspicious of, and then I denied it by acting like I'd done nothing and nothing was wrong?
Yeah, and I pretended nothing had ever happened and gaslit you so you didn't know if it was actually true?
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. I did sell you.
Yeah.
Jesus. And then he gets this gross face. Why? Because I was sick of you. That's why.
Yep. Yeah, I take back saying anything positive about him. I think that he thinks he's done his best because otherwise he wouldn't feel justified in treating Guts this way. He's wrong. He's a bastard. I apologize to everyone for briefly thinking. I mean, he is actually a well-written character. He's still compelling. The series is full of compelling bastards.
Yeah.
It's still
he tells them the amount.
Well,
I think what?
I had to move my cam. It was still on Bellamy.
Bellamy is cute, boy. I think one of the saddest pages ever drawn is the one where he just is saying why, and tears are welling up in his little 11-year-old baby face. He's 11. Oh my God. And then when Gambino lunges at him on the Golden Age End 2, and his sword goes through his throat because he just lifts it. He just lifts his sword and the man runs into it. I can't say that I was unhappy about it. I was like, you know what would be really good is if I got to see that again. And he did me a solid, Drawk. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I turned the page into the next chapter and it starts with like the super detailed drawing of Gambino dying. I've got the blood.
I felt bad about it just because I knew Guts didn't want to kill him. Like, this made Guts sad.
And I say that I feel like Guts gave me a gift.
Yeah, he did. Guts delivered something good for you. The issue is, this is also revenge, but it's not revenge Guts wanted. Like,
no, it may not, but I think it is one of the things that helps him become a more resilient person in the future.
I agree. I think this is an important growing experience for Mr. Guts Berserk.
Okay, well, I want you to imagine if he hadn't have killed Gambino and eventually he had found his way out of this group. Like, it would be difficult for him to even find his way out of this group. But imagine he finds his way out of this mercenary group. Gambino, who he knows now, sold him, literally sold his ass for 3 silvers.
Oh my God, that was such a bad. That was so terrible.
I said it.
Oh.
Exists in the world, just exists out there in the world, being the piece of crap he is, existing. And it would feel like a poll and it would, it would feel like the way that I see certain politicians. It would feel like a giant postulating cyst just out there in the world that's pulsing with oozing evil waiting for you. Because that's how there's certain politicians that I see as living cysts, and I see this man as a living cyst. I agree
that he could only be have the modicum of freedom he did because Gambino died here. I want to add something to this scene that I found myself thinking how tragic it is that my guess is Griffith marked him for sacrifice and probably also Casca to ascend. Because we know you have to sacrifice the things you value, and the only thing he's ever wanted was Guts. That's how Guts became marked. That's why demons are hunting him, because he was supposed to be consumed by hell because he was marked for sacrifice, okay? Now, how sad is it that Guts is cursed with this mark of sacrifice, that someone who valued him, the first person to see him for him and value and want him around, sacrificed him and gave him a curse that embodies what he was told by the people who raised him. They told him he was a walking disaster, that he only brought pain to those around him. And the first person who valued him made that true, made the thing people said as superstition true. That's horrific. That's so fucked up.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say. But I don't want to skip ahead too much, but I just felt like seeing this backstory and seeing how much it ripped his heart out to be in this situation, to have the person that he saw as a father figure doing this to him, and then moving it forward into the future. I was like, you piece of shit. Let's get through here. We can't skip ahead too much, but we'll move ahead more.
Yeah, I just felt like I needed to bring up
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. I think that him leaving the mercenary group and the way that he took off wasn't particularly important to me. It was interesting that the person called him, he's a father killer. And I was like, are you really saying that? Like, how many... There's open secrets, right? In groups. You're telling me in your raiding party that there wasn't a bunch of you that didn't know that he was sexually assaulted by this person? That a bunch of you didn't know that Gambino put him in that situation?
I think the only reason I would give benefit of the doubt and say that isn't the case is because Gambino probably figured out Guts killed him. Like, literally a dude who was probably a competent, strong mercenary died literally right after, and it happened the next day. Like, because of that, I think Gambino wouldn't have shared it.
Had time to talk about it.
I think he would have realized he should keep it. I don't think it was ever an open secret. I don't think there was time for it. And I think seeing Guts immediately kill the guy, he was like, all right, so we're not doing that one again.
I think it's very interesting, though, that they called him a father killer. It makes you think about the entire world. Like, yeah, Guts' life is dark, but the world is so fucking dark.
Yeah.
Because they still call him a father figure to him. They think that the level of love, attention, and respect that he received from this grown man is evidence of being a father. I want you to think about your father. Now think about this father. And they're like, he's a father killer. And I would be like, do you mean bully killer?
Well, if we look at comparing dads, Gambino has one edge over my father, which is he passed on the family trade, and that's about it. That's the one edge I'll give him.
You didn't want your father's family trade.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Gambino did teach his man how to sword fight. We can't deny that. That's the one advantage I'm going to give him in the scoreboards. It ends up being 30-1 is the final score.
Your father could have taught you to be a principal.
Yeah, he could have, but like that would have been principal. Think about the trade he would have been teaching me, and like, I don't know. I'll give Gambino 1 point.
So I can't believe you just gave Gambino a point over your father. I hope your father sees this.
Look, you have to be fair. If you're gonna be dunking on people, you gotta be fair to them, you know?
Oh my Lord.
Yeah,
when he was laying under the moon and he was and the stars and he was bleeding out all over the place, I started to do that same thing that I did in One Piece and wonder if the sky was looking back on him, because it really felt like the moon was looking back on him when he was laying out there looking up at the moon. Started to think about the god's hand. So you've got the god. We've talked about it. A god has to exist. It sends its hand out to act in its point.
The all-powerful... Well, I don't think the demons are necessary. Are they that? Oh, that's a question. Is it called the god's hand?
Of God. That's what I'm wondering.
It's literal. I figured the god's god was opposed to the demons still, and we were going to do something Christian because their worship was...
Why do we have a god hand? Why would we call it the hand of God if it wasn't working on behalf of the god?
On my track, right?
Yeah.
The people worshiping the demons were being called pagans. So my figuring was, okay, that means that the god's hand are demons. They are the things pagans worship. But then I realized not necessarily. We don't know they were worshiping demons. The pagans could have been worshiping old gods, the gods who were before. Demons could be servants of this new god that has overthrown paganism, that has become the monotheistic thing. I hadn't even considered that. I was associating the pagan religions with this, but you could easily have a new monotheistic religion who is served by the demons, by the god's hand. That's why they're called that. That's where God's power comes by. And the old gods are paganism. That it would also fit in with the lore of Fear and Hunger, which to my knowledge, was heavily inspired as a mythology by Berserk.
Well, I decided in my head when I was reading this that if that's the hand of God, then God is evil. And I don't know if there's more than one God in here and it's monotheistic, or if this is just an evil God. But I've decided there is a God at least, and it's evil, and this is the hand that it sends out to act in its deed, and that it changes its hand or the fingers of its hand. There's 5, and it changes them consistently, because that would make sense for me that it has these things act on behalf of it.
I also
why Griffith got in, because otherwise if you don't burn out your god hand, there wouldn't have been a space for Griffith.
True, because 5 fingers, you'd just think that there wouldn't be a bunch of them. I felt as though, oh god, my brain, I had kind of started to assume... The reason I was assuming there was only one god of this faith was that they were calling things pagan, and the word pagan has this heavy association with, like, there's a monotheistic faith and these are polytheistic old faiths, which is kind of why I was feeling like there probably are multiple gods. But the newer faith that has inspired the word, it's the use of the word pagan. The word pagan to me is used specifically to draw on the imagery of Christianity, the monotheistic new faith, minimizing polytheistic old faiths, or
somebody made a comment. I don't know if we have to not read comments anymore soon. If there seems to be anything that gets interesting, I haven't seen
any spoilers in the comments yet. I've been checking and I've been ready to jump off.
Somebody did make a comment where they said it would be interesting to see if they could do this without putting down Christianity, and here's what that made me think. When I read that, I was like, okay, follow me for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So either the orange juice scene with the pagan god is the same god, and he doesn't know that he thinks he's fighting against that. But when he became a demon, he was really actually just also part of the orange juice clan, or as I'm going to call them, the breakfast club. You heard me. Or there is more than one god. Who's to say any of them are good in this one? And the god that he is following, the hands of the gods rule is an evil SOB. So I don't know which one it is, if there is no devil or if the devil and the God are in the same place, but it made sense to me that somebody who was Christian would feel like it was a revelation about God being evil. And that's why I think in that direction.
Okay. I'm curious to see which way it goes. I am
too.
My belief is partially informed by my knowledge of fear and hunger, which I'm aware is inspired. So this is a bit of information, but it could be misleading me. But my belief is that there is polytheistic faiths that worship some sort of old god, that some people have ascended to become the god hand as new gods, and that my question is it going to be like fear and hunger and the Christian God is an ascended deity like the God Hand, or is it going to be something else? I don't really know that yet, but I'm kind of feeling... I don't want to just say fear and hunger's mythology is the thing, but I do think there's probably a polytheistic faith of older deities.
You know what thing
as well.
I don't know?
What's that?
With fear and hunger? Do you know a thing I don't know with fear and hunger?
I don't know if it applies to Berserk. I just know that fear and hunger, I know a lot about its mythology, and I know fear and hunger in a lot of ways inspired by it. It is a grim, dark, gritty video game that I watch Let's Plays of.
That's what I was saying, Czar Worldo, that God and the devil might be the same person. That's the first thing I think, that the dude thinks he's fighting against... I guess I didn't make that clear enough.
Yeah.
That dude thinks that he's fighting against...
Well, I just didn't put together the word devil when I think of paganism.
But actuality, he's fighting for and against the same God, and that God just thinks it's fun as shit. Okay, hear me out.
Yes.
I'm gonna Momzerk. When he first falls on the ground, the moon is almost sun-like in its vibrancy. And then when we change the page, he's just laying there. He's in shock about what he's done. He's staring at the moon. It's still kind of sun-like in its spikiness. He's just laying in the water, his sword beside him. He's not doing anything. And then suddenly the moon changes. And we can see the moon. His eyes are still big. Then he focuses. His eyes soften. They close a little. He grips the ground. He finds the strength and he stands up. So then I started to wonder, like, okay, within that change there, am I just looking at him and his vision and his shock and I'm watching that fade? Or am I watching him be reached down to, being given some strength to stand? Mm-hmm. And then I wonder, is there a real God that cares about him in this? Or does that God just think it's funny to make him get up and carry on? I don't know. But he keeps being like, I'm cold. I've lost too much blood. I have 2 broken ribs. I don't know where I'm going. It would have been easier just to lay and die. There'd be nothing anymore. Here, there's only bad stuff. And then he has to fight freaking wolves. And I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Can I say something that I loved about this wolf moment?
Yeah.
Wolves are misrepresented a lot in media of how they behave, and they're kind of seen as like all vengeful murder machines. And I was like, look, a starving wolf, if they see an injured human, probably would attack, even though they don't normally attack humans. But if wolves are hungry, like if they haven't had a lot of food lately, which in a war zone, not that unlikely, they would attack an injured human. But like once he'd killed a couple of them, I was like, okay, wolves are intelligent. They're going to realize they're not going to buy into sunk cost fallacy that much. They're going to realize, shit, we got to run if enough of them die. So this, and I feel like we're going to do the thing media always does, where the wolves just keep coming because they're death monsters. And then instead, after like 3 of them are dead, the wolves are like, all right, let's bounce. This ain't good. Let's pack it in, guys. Good game.
They start to bounce immediately, but then we do see that there's carriages coming in the distance.
Yeah. But like,
but they do start to bounce. Yeah. So that was well done. But you know what is amazing in that moment?
Was that
they show up and nothing is going to be cooler than this. They show up and they're like, hey, look, he's just a kid. Is he alive? Yeah, but he's pretty bad shape. So are these wolves. Either way, he's got good luck, and he emphasized it and bolded it, getting found by us in the middle of the wilderness. good luck with mercenaries like Wes. Oh yeah, I guess that's what I was saying. We just need another man in our squad. So who knows if he's runaway slave or what? The world's a strange place. And I was like, is his luck gonna change? It's almost like I forgot about the entire thing we had read already. And in my heart, I was like, oh good, is his luck gonna change now? He's got good luck. Oh God. But then his last words are him trailing after and looking at Gambino. 4 years later, so he was 11, he's now 15.
Yeah.
You said what about the very first siege page?
The very first siege page to me just felt like those old like medieval textbooks that we'd read in social studies that show like big battle scenes zoomed out, show all the like details. It's very unromantic, and it feels almost like a diagram. Like, I don't know, that sort of medieval siege warfare isn't drawn like this a lot, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was so well done.
It's super cool. It reminded me of Where's Waldo,
which absolutely, because Where's Waldo does that same almost diagram vibe, zoomed out such a high angle that it's like you're looking at miniatures, which is very much 100%. What I felt from this.
Yeah, I loved it. It was super cool. I kept looking for Waldo. And by Waldo, I mean guts. I was looking for guts. I'm like, where is Waldo? And then I realized they're all wearing masks. It's pretty hard to find my particular Waldo.
Did you know
this is Where's Waldo on expert level?
Hey, do you know what they call Where's Waldo in jolly old London town?
Tell me, I'm interested.
Where's Wally?
Wally? Why? What's wrong with Waldo? Like, that's what I wonder. Does Waldo mean like ugly person who eats their own snot?
I have no idea, but it's Where's Wally?
Like, why would you change that?
Where's Wally gone? Where's my Wally?
I don't see Wally anywhere. If they were going to do anything, they should have said, where's Willy? That would have been funny.
Now, do you want to hear something else I found out that's fucking crazy? I need to look this up. I need to look this up. I need to look this up to confirm, because if I don't want to give misinformation.
Okay. I'm listening to you look it up. I'm Googling. Okay.
I don't think it's originally British, because I just found out something terrible. Do you know, this is true. The thing I was going to say is true. I've confirmed it. Do you know what the evil Waldo in Where's Waldo is called?
Okay.
His name is Oddlaw, which is Waldo reversed. And do you know what in Where's Wally they call Oddlaw?
What?
Oddlaw.
That doesn't make any sense.
His name is still Oddlaw in Where's Wally?
I don't understand that.
Okay. Why?
Okay, I don't understand that.
Yeah, so that was the horrible fact that I wanted to tell you that I needed to make sure was true, because it sounded like misinformation.
All right. I want to move forward, because I want to talk about the weird Stay Puft Marshmallow Man / Shmoo.
I'm sorry. Oh. The knight with the big axe?
The Shmoo Marshmallow Man.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
You don't know what a Shmoo is?
No.
If you look up a Shmoo, all you're going to see, look up cartoon Shmoo, and you're going to see this dude with an axe.
Guys.
Bazuso. It's this guy, but without the cod piece.
Dude, that's not him at all. That's not him at all.
Yeah, it is. It's evil him. Don't piss me off. You wouldn't like me when I was angry. So
Shmoo looks nothing like that man.
He does. I know, because a beam of sunlight have just come out of the heavens and landed in front of me. So that's God saying, yep.
Tell me what Bazuso's his name?
Yeah, Bazuso. Yeah, that's him. Just make his head bigger and put on a helmet. Bazuso. Give him a cod piece, too.
I can't believe you. Guys, same man, right?
It's the same man.
Hey guys,
if you give him a helmet,
corporate wants you to tell me the difference between these two pictures.
You can't. They're the same man.
Yeah, You know that
I like them. They're identical.
It's
funny.
Gives
me a shmoo.
It's funny how we went from talking about Where's Waldo to talking about those Spot the Difference books, and this one impossible.
Look at Water Dog and Kopi. They can see it, and he said they all can see it. Give them arms and an axe.
I mean, hey, we're on an art show. We can do that. Let's see. Give him.
Don't forget his helmet.
We're doing it.
Arms, axe, and helmet.
We're doing it.
Because right now he's smiling.
We're working
on it. This is what the people come for right here. I'm telling you, it's the same dude.
Lav, don't edit this out. Speed it up if anything, but don't edit this out, please. It's important.
Don't forget the cod piece. Don't forget the cod piece and oven mitt hands.
Yeah. Lav, don't edit it, please. This is important. The people need to see Shmoo.
There is no Shmoo. There's only Bazuso.
The issue actually is maybe you should edit this out because it might get flagged for showing a manga panel.
I don't think it will. It's just this single little moment. They're identical.
Yeah, manga panels get recognized really easily by copyright.
For me, Bazuso and Shmoo are just two sides of the same coin. I saw him and I was like, uh-oh, Shmoo. Are you going to kill people, Shmoo?
Yeah, okay.
See? Look! Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Moving on.
I like that we spend so much time doing close-ups of his eyes and his face. I was like, okay. Thank you, Saz. Honestly, it's not that far off. Like,
I'll be honest,
that's what it just felt like.
I'll be honest, it was more similar in vibe than I was expecting.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's not.
No one's gonna get past me. Anyone who wants their head smashed in, step right up. Okay, Shmoo, take it down. Shmoo. And then who should step up? Mr. Guts Berserk. That's his early theme song. Little punk showing off. The fool's gonna get himself killed. Well, let him try.
He's trying to take on Shmoo, the marshmallow mascot.
You're gonna regret this, kid. Getting your head knocked off for 7 gold coins. Yeah, he might. But then when we change the page and we get to, I need to find out what page this is because I really do wonder, 97 or 8. He looks like he's phasing. So did you notice that, Drawk, that he's fighting him and then do you remember when Puck says, I thought that he was just flinging his sword around and I couldn't always see what he was doing. But now that I see him fighting in this way with this person, I've realized that he's a sword master. It was just before he just randomly said Berserk.
When he needed to remind us what we were reading.
That's the one. He was doing some of the same things later on. This made me feel like he was phasing, that he was moving so quickly that he was able to channel. It looks like he's able to channel the energy of the earth, his body.
It didn't look like phasing to me. I think that's just meant to be an artistic representation of he quick.
No, like overly quick. It seemed almost too quick.
It would make a bit of sense because the only people we've seen who are that level of skilled and speed are him and Griffith, who both have little pointy elf boy ears.
That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm wondering if there's something to him. Does it talk to his elfy ears? What does it talk to? But it shocked the shit out of Shmoo. Shmoo was like, shit, I'm being actually fought with right now. I might do the dying. And so it made me think that maybe that he has some kind of special power that was given to him. The
marshmallow mascot.
Yeah, exactly. That it was given to him by like a god who then turns his back on him. So that it made me see like, okay, was it the same god? Is the devil and the god the same person, or is God evil? But it was almost like, let me give you something, or is this part of his culture?
Let me tell you something here, right? Yeah. I think if I'm right, and there are old gods because of that's what pagans are.
Yeah.
The elves and elf ears would be, to me, related to that, because elves aren't part of Christian mythos, they're part of pagan mythos.
I think it could be elves and elf ears. Like, I'm comfortable with that existing.
Well, so hear me out, right? So the elves and elf ears, I think, would be part of the pagan mythos. I think they would be connected to the old gods, if anything, specifically not whatever this world's Christian god is.
I would agree. They make anyone who's in the middle of, who's in like a battle frenzy or in an anger frenzy, they change their faces to a blackout. They did that to him before he split Shmoo's skull in half. And
yeah, before he split Shmoo, the marshmallow mascot.
Do you remember when I told you the story of when I watched that kid's eye come out of its socket?
Yeah, that's a frequently recurring story. Yeah.
It's a story that I can't forget. You understand. I did watch an eye fly out of somebody's.
I imagine you are cursed with that image for the rest of your life. Yes.
I really am.
And the one sweet bliss of dementia, if it comes for you, sadly, will be that it may cleanse that image.
Sweet bliss. Yeah. But I got to tell you, the eye coming out of here is not far off. I mean, it's not exact, but it's not far off.
Good to know.
And I was like, you know what? Excellent accuracy. Mine had less blood and went down.
To be fair, what didn't happen from 80s playground equipment, not from, a sword to the head.
Yeah. But
I realized something the other day. Hear me out on something crazy. This is an off-topic observation.
Go.
Have you noticed that there was a huge surge of really poor quality houses built in the 50s and 60s, right? In suburban development. So 50s and 60s houses basically don't exist anymore, okay?
Yeah.
But then a bunch of building codes were put in place, and houses built in the 70s and 80s are so solidly built that tons of them are still up and desirable today, right?
Yeah.
And then the agencies that are in charge of enforcing all those restrictions kind of cut back and became really shitty and underfunded. So from the 90s onwards, houses were built more cheaply again. Okay? You're with me so far?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not hard.
I've just had something crazy as a realization. They fucking hated you guys because they were in the middle of building incredibly high quality buildings everywhere, and your playgrounds were still fucking death traps.
Yeah, duh.
They hated you bastards. They were building the strongest houses known to the modern era, and they built fucking junkyards for y'all to play in.
Listen to me. Listen to me carefully. The boomers who raised me had to have a commercial come on at 10 o'clock at night that said, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? And I'm not kidding. And multiple famous people did these commercials, multiple famous people. And it literally would come on at 10 o'clock at night on the TV because our parents forgot we frickin' existed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So yeah, that's not surprising. They wanted us to die. You should have seen the slide. I watched a kid actually burn a piece of its skin off on the metal straight slide because it goes down so fast, and you take summer heat plus friction, and a piece of skin came right off of their leg.
It's crazy that, like, it was an era where they were building some of the best houses. Everything was built to last. Appliances were built to last. And then for playgrounds, the boomers were like, fucking, the heap of metal's good for these fuckers, right? Like, they'll be fine with that.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, there was some playground equipment there that did some damage. I mean, I also used that playground equipment in a very foolhardy way and did my own damage, but the playground equipment wasn't happening. I watched a kid's femur snap in half getting sucked underneath the merry-go-round. I watched a kid's 2 front teeth get knocked out on the horse that went back and forth, but way too fast, and it flipped over and hit the thing in front of it. Like, the playground equipment was death trap.
Yeah, y'all be at it, huh?
Yeah, that's why we became in charge, and we're like, let's soften up these playgrounds and make them boring.
Yeah, I feel like we've hit a nice middle ground, but it does make sense in retrospect why Gen Xers built boring playgrounds for kids, because y'all were terrified of playgrounds.
We were raised by people who just wanted us to get murdered. Okay, so let's go through this. They were like, I know where my kids are. Did they get killed at the playground yet, so I don't have to have them anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we move on, people are saying, what the hell? Y'all don't actually realize there have been studies that have been gone into where there is a, like, something like 2 to 3% of the Gen Xers didn't grow up because of how many kids died from neglect, and the number one cause was just drowning in pools that they owned because boomers paid so little attention to their kids that, like,
or oceans and lakes and streams.
Literally thousands, potentially millions of kids in the Western world just wandered into water and drowned in the Gen X generation. It's actually crazy.
Calm your faces down. We're getting to Berserk. Calm down.
We'll get back to Berserk. Don't worry. Hey, if this is your first time on stream, you don't know how much gets cut off of the YouTube videos. We do this every time. This isn't new.
Yeah, even Dr. Jack. Come on, Dr. Jack. You know better.
The boomers didn't fight in World War II. Don't give them that.
No, get real. I like how all of a sudden Griffith shows up beside him and he goes, "Who's stronger, you or him? There's no comparison. Man, it's Griffith, right? Griffith." And then Griffith shows up beside him. But what was up with that weird Prince King dude's face that looked like thickly, Frenchly, I don't know what he looks like. He looks like someone and I can't put my finger on it.
Griffith
the dude who's like...
Oh, the kid.
Not Griffith, the dude that he's like, "Work for me and I will pay you better than you have ever been paid before."
I think that might have been the general of the army that hired Guts' mercenaries.
Yeah, but like he looks like someone I can't put my finger on, and I'm just like,
no idea.
Yeah.
You know who he looks like?
I'll go for it.
Let me just double check the name. Karl Franz.
Okay. And kind of Errol Flynn, too.
You don't know who Karl Franz is, don't worry.
I'm looking it up right now. He also looks a little bit Karl Franz.
Warhammer Fantasy fans know what's up.
Images.
Carl with a K.
What the shit? Oh, I was going to say, because I put in Carol by accident, and that is not what he looks like.
No. Got that Karl Franz drip. There has to be a crossover of fans between Berserk and Warhammer Fantasy. I refuse to believe none of you Berserk fans know Warhammer Fantasy enough to like and know Karl Franz. There we go. Someone's got it.
I love that he once again did the whole "don't touch me, don't you ever touch me" thing. I love that we're going to get to see that over time, because I was worried that he was going to be, "Oh my God, I'm going to say this and then it's going to happen." I was worried that he was going to be sexually assaulted again, because I was like, is he still doing that in his adulthood? Because it's happened so many times. And then I saw him at 15 doing it, and I was like, oh, maybe it's left over still from his childhood, and I'm not going to have to see that happen to him again. It's just going to happen when he was 9. But I can see Griffith doing it.
You could. You Griffith pulling an essay on our boy does feel
I could see Griffith
decidedly possible.
I thought it was very interesting that when he was laying out there in the grass, and then the other mercenaries decided to go and pick on him, and Griffith decided to do nothing. I feel like when we were watching him fight originally, when they were in the battle, I almost felt like when Griffith looked over him that he marked him. That it was just, he took his eyes, he put them up and down him, and he was just like, yeah, that one. Kind of like the way that a stalker would do, that for whatever reason, that person just does something to them and they decide, nope, that's the one for me. That's what it felt like when I looked back over it. And I was like, Griffith has marked our boy, Mr. Guts Berserk, already, before he's given him his other devil mark.
This is going to be a brief departure for for people who haven't read Dr. Stone. This is fine. When I've talked to people before about how Dr. Stone to me has some I love Dr. Stone in a lot of ways, but it has some thematic things that rub me the wrong way. And the best example I can have is Ryusuke. So much of what he is the same as Griffith, but instead of played as menacing and dangerous, is played as like benevolent and good, and it's just the same energy. Ryusuke is just a Griffith we're supposed to like. That's all.
Thank you.
Look, Dr. Stone people in the audience know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't. Let me just put this in here. I don't doubt it. I don't, you big weirdo, but I'm sure people do. And then when he has that battle, I don't have much to say about the first battle he has. It felt like it just needed to happen. You know what I mean? Like when he's having the battle with the people who are in their troop, and we're finding out that that girl has given up everything, including being a woman, they said later. And so it's important for her that she gets love from Griffith, and then Griffith is not giving her the love. I don't think there's a lot to say in it. It was necessary. It had to happen.
It moves the plot forward.
It moves the plot forward. I don't have a lot. Their fight was predictable. I knew that Griffith would toy with him. Griffith feels like a cat. When he took his head off, his helmet off, I was like, seriously, we're saying this as a dude? Okay, whatever.
It's just a pretty guy.
What was a little bit unexpected, however, was him saying he owned him. I own you now.
Yeah. Are we talking about the fight when they meet in the field, or are we talking about the fight in camp?
Fight when they meet in the field, because was it there when he first said it, or was it?
I think it was. I think that was after he beat him in the camp.
I thought he had done it in this one, but you know what? I'm happy to be wrong.
He does in the field? Okay, people are saying it's both.
Because I thought he did it in both. And so he leaves and he has to be cared for. He forces the poor girl to lay with him for however long, so that because he's lost too much blood and he's cold. He's already being haunted. For Christ's sakes, already in his sleep, he's being chased. I mean, he's being chased by the dude that he killed. He's being chased on Shmoo 4.5, but he's being chased. Kind of like if Shmoo met his SA'er.
You can't just, okay, everybody's Shmoo.
I can say he's Shmoo.
You can say what you want.
And then suddenly he goes back into kind of a more realistic dream, but now he's with Gambino, and he's picking up Gambino's legs from a bunch of dead people. And I was like, so dude was literally, before he was marked for death, already having these devil dreams. So his life was already being pulled apart. He's already not getting a good sleep. So we're talking years.
This ties into what I was saying earlier about how what probably happened of Griffith sacrificing Guts for power being so fucked up, because the curse he put on him just made real, magically real, all of the things that hunted Guts the most. This statement that he 100%. Only brought disaster, these dreams that haunt him, it just cursed him to make all of, holy shit, no, this is perfect. This is so symbolically perfect. If we're right,
I was just going to say, that's such a great observation, Pop-Off.
If we're right about what almost certainly happened, that Griffith sacrificed Guts, marked him with the mark.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, because it means Guts had all of this trauma, all this hurt, all of this mental baggage that he was trying to live past. And the statement is, if the person you first trust, that you first learn to give a piece of yourself to, betrays that trust, it digs all of your scars in permanent. It makes them unavoidable. It ingrains them in yourself. It makes them too real to move past, because you did give your trust in yourself to a person, and they reconfirmed, rebaked in, and hardened the curse mark of Guts. The thing that you said Guts represented the mental illness and Puck represented the healthy mind. Guts can only be the mental illness, because the first person he trusted and loved told him all he was all of the scars that haunted him, all of the things he was always told he was. And now that just is who Guts is left as being.
Whereas Puck was what he could have been.
Which we see with the moment that is the death of his innocence, having him drawn to look like Puck.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a really good connection. A really great connection.
I am shocked at how much depth we're able to find in this series so quickly.
This series is like popping off. It's a crazy manga. When he wakes up and sees a face, I thought it was interesting that though she was a girl, she looks so much like him.
Yeah.
You know?
Did she have the little elf ears? Did Casca have the little elf ears?
Yes, she has something that looks similar to
all of
elf
the people
ears.
Little elf ears are supernaturally good, because this is a series that's not dishonest that men have more physical strength on average than women, and yet everyone is saying she's the second best fighter in their troop, right?
Exactly.
So she clearly has some sort of edge, and then Griffith and Guts both also have an edge. So something about the people with little elf ears,
and they both have little elf ears.
There's something going on with little elf ears.
Yeah. So I think the only reason that she got to live, and when he opens them and he looks at her, the very first thing he says is dark eyes, which was bizarre and made me think like a woman, dark eyes. When he was looking at it, that A, it conferred that it wasn't the person who had hurt him, and B, it was it felt almost like it was okay because this was a woman who was laying against him, and B, that it looked so different, so much like him.
I think so much like him, but also the fact that he was asleep when it happened almost, I think, helped for him because he didn't have the option to reject touch and had to be forced to realize, like, he genuinely losing consent actually helped him here because he didn't have the opportunity to reject it and was forced to realize that nonviolent touch can be comfort and warmth instead of pain.
But it's kind of weird. And why do we keep seeing goddamn dark eyes?
You know?
So then he sees her talking to Griffith, and then she goes to leave and Griffith puts both hands on her shoulders, which is weird. Everything that Griffith is doing is too weird. You know what I mean?
He's a weird guy.
It's too caring. It's too love. And then she storms off and goes by him and he goes, dark eyes. And then she punches him. So he obviously says dark eyes inside. I wish you died after Griffith was through with you. And I was just like, interesting. And it's interesting that he keeps having to notice her dark eyes, and I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Man, I can't wait to see Casca fall for Guts before she's horribly murdered.
Or not. Like, she might do something ungood. I can't decide what the look on her face is when she's watching them.
I think my theory of what is going to happen might be too informed by cultural osmosis. While I haven't heard for sure, like, I haven't heard details, I have heard enough that I don't think I can fairly make a guess.
Is this sword already PPSS when we see him and he's carrying the big ass sword that he's carrying?
That's a way too big sword, but that's not nearly as big as the Dragon Slayer.
Okay. Because I'm waiting for them to say that prayer / calling, whatever the hell it is about the sword again. I can't wait to see where we get the sword. But is that sword going to be given to us by a god? Are we going to find that sword in a place? Is it going to be a King Arthurian moment? What is it going to be? That sword is coming to us in an interesting way, and I can't wait to find out.
The current sword Dragon Slayer Jr.
Yeah, there you go. I like that Griffith likes it so much, only because it lets us see Griffith's facial expression in so many ways. They even talk about it later, but at this point I was like, it's wild the way they keep showing Griffith go from childlike to like evil dude.
But they comment on it too.
Angelic. They commented about it later on, and I was like, whoa.
I just had a realization.
Yeah.
Who's ready for military martial arts character analysis?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you know how someone fights with a greatsword in a military setting? What a greatsword is good for?
Hacking, isn't it? Like overhand.
Greatswords were used for hacking, detangling, and more than anything, deflecting. The main reason greatswords, well, and horses important, killing big creatures.
I was gonna say.
The major reason greatswords took off in military usage was during the pike era, because pikes are made to keep people at a distance, and the main thing you do with a greatsword is in big sweeping arcs, you deflect and smash into the shaft, reverberating, knocking people's defenses off guard.
That would have been you, PPSS, if you're feeling awesome about it. You would have been a horse killer if you had been back then.
Probably if I were in the Middle Ages, I'd be great swordsman. That it would
You're
be my
definitely
vibe.
two-handed
It was
sword kind of
high-risk shock troopers who went in at the risk of great personal injuries to sweep aside and basically destroy defenses, getting through defenses, getting to the meat of it. And Guts is a character who is blunt, direct, doesn't like this dance of deflection, but also likes to keep people at a distance, which is why in 1v1ing greatsword fighting style actually had about 30% of its martial arts handbook taken from spear martial arts handbooks because they were too large to use about 30% of the longsword martial arts. Rapiers, on the other hand, are mostly a personal defense weapon rather than a military weapon. In military circumstances, to my knowledge, it was mostly used on ships because they were good in close quarters. And Griffith is a character who wants to be intimate and close with people. But more importantly, rapiers cannot parry in a more traditional sense. With a longsword or a waster or an estoc or whatever sword you want, you can smash into the blade and deflect. But because rapiers have all of their weight in a heavy handle instead of a heavy blade, they're similar weight to a longsword, but their weight in the handle so that you can pivot quickly. They dance around things. They are indirect, manipulative weapons that use the momentum and drive of the weapon attacking them to disengage. A greatsword parries aggressively, offense first, high risk, smashing actively. Instead of a traditional parry, it is a smash, getting through defenses and attacking an attack, blasting through with weight, strength, and directness. A rapier...
So your point is that these two people are their weapons.
They are opposites and they are their weapons. A rapier defends by getting behind an attack and exaggerating its own momentum to get it where you want it to be instead of where they want it to be, adding more force to someone else. And Griffith is someone who is getting behind people, their drive, and pushing them towards his ends. So these two, their personalities, how they act, are reflected in how their weapons are used.
That's crazy. So if we're going to be following Guts, then in this theory, we would also be following a story that is blunt and to the point.
Blunt, to the point, and it wants to smash through all of the obfuscation, all of the ways the story wants to keep us at bay and simplify.
And protect its emotional well-being by being a blunt force against you.
And using aggression as your defense, using this smashing, sweeping motion to knock away threat. Whereas the rapier is intimate, close weapon that wants to manipulate and get behind to redirect things.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's not ever forget that so that we can follow along the lines. I have a feeling we'll get to know piece of shit Griffith very well.
What sword does Casca use? Because I wonder if I can get something from that. Is it just a regular longsword?
She just uses a regular longsword.
I can't really say much about that. Longswords are kind of like, they're the...
Thank you, Wolf Sound, for the subscription.
You know Mario?
Yeah.
Longswords are Mario. I refuse to elaborate. Let's move on.
Okay, then. Okay, so Griffith says, the way you fight is almost as though you're gambling with your own life, which we know for sure is absolutely true. And Griffith is talking in a way where Griffith is trying to pull Guts in. I think that it was very interesting. The reason I put a comment on here, I even have a corgi sticker here. I'm using corgi post-it notes in my Berserk book because
so cute to say. I have a corgi here.
Because I like corgis peeking out of all these pages, being sweet little corgis while I'm talking about and looking at Berserk. So the way that Griffith is looking so angelic and has dumped down all of the things that protect him and just looks as if he's being completely vulnerable while he's standing in front of Guts is really interesting because you can see that he's using everything in his powers to manipulate who Guts is. And he's saying, like, I'm not a physical threat to you. I'm not a threat at all. As a matter of fact, I've just noticed some things about you. I think that you're fighting like you're trying to kill yourself. You're also struggling to make it out alive. That's how it felt to me. You're interesting. And I've taken a liking to you. I want you, Guts. And he looks the most feminine he can before he says that. And then Guts is standing there looking at them. Who does he think he is? Who is he talking to? And if I say no, do you? You bet your ass I say no. And then he asks him if he wants him in a homosexual way, which was very interesting. This all makes me sick, blah, 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 blah.
It does make sense for where Guts has been and what he knows of the world.
100%. But it was super fun because if you look at all of these pages, Griffith in one of them looks so much younger than Guts and just has this innocent little expression on his face, like, I don't know why you would even question me in that way, and da 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 da. And she's right, she's watching and everything, but all I kept thinking is, dude is definitely trying to goat you into fighting. And even though dude says maybe you should wait because you're still weak, dude is definitely trying to goat you, because in this moment, in this fight, there is something in it that is like magic that is going to attach you to Griffith for all eternity. And Griffith is using this as a moment to own you.
Yeah.
Because when he said, I own you, I was like, oh, shit. He did. He goaded him into this fight intentionally. And now, whether Guts knows it or not, when he said he wanted you, he meant he wanted to own your soul.
And now he gets to.
Going for.
Which is what the drawing I'm doing is about.
And when he's like, oh, you're so good, and da-da-da-da-da, and I need to be faster, I need to be stronger. And they're having this fight, which was really easy to follow. He does an amazing job at the fight pictures, because they're not always good, I've noticed. Fight pictures are hard to follow.
He's gotten better. I think earlier on it was harder to track, and I think it still is sometimes in the big military scenes, but I think those are meant to be a bit chaotic. Like, they're meant to be snapshots, like vignettes, whereas this was meant to be a duel. We saw all of it. I really loved the... Oh god, another thing about military use of these weapons is rapiers were usually noble weapons, and great swords were shock trooper weapons that were given to, just like, I think Landsknechts were actually when they became really popular, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, who were in the era of mercenaries. They became more popular because men at arms you don't trust with a sword that valuable, just regular peasants you've conscripted, but it's such a dangerous job that you don't want to waste your knights on it, so you would give mercenaries are the main people who would be using great swords, from what I remember of the era. I could be wrong. Anyways,
go ahead.
I think it's very cool that you see the advantages both of them have in the fight choreography, where you see Griffith having the advantage of speed and poise and skill, and Guts, it's not even strength, it's also just like brutality and this animalistic drive that is his biggest advantage.
Also just being in the way, trying to fight against a great sword. It's why it works on horses. Like, it's freaking huge. It's hard to actually maneuver quick enough to get out of the way.
It takes up so much space.
Yeah. But if I had been choosing the picture this week and I get to choose next week,
yes,
I would have chosen when Griffith jumped on his great sword, when he thought that he had them, and Griffith jumped up on top of his great sword. I thought that described their relationship in a nutshell. That every single time Guts thinks he might get the edge, Griffith does something unpredictable.
Well, but both of them did. They both kept defying expectations.
I agree, but Griffith in the end, oh my God. And then, as a person who's gone through some teeth problems lately, watching that whole him biting the sword moment was a bit much for my teeth. I actually could feel it. It was just...
I just realized something amazing. The symbology is so powerful. You're right that they both get the one up on the other one. Griffith, by being above what Guts thought was possible and jumping on top of the sword.
Yes.
Guts, by being below how low Griffith thought he would go, being an animal and biting the sword. Both they subverted each other's expectations, one by being higher than expected, one by being lower than expected. So much of the status of this relationship is on display here.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to ask what you want to draw on, but then as I started, this vision came to me of using Griffith's hair to be the tower for this.
The reason I like what you did is I was just thinking how I used to say to you weird things like, I want to see this and this, but with this, and then it would allow you to do some original pieces. And we haven't done a lot of that today, so I was thrilled.
So I wanted to combine sort of two different panels here to create the image of this is Guts through seeing the love that Griffith's men have for him, falling for Griffith.
Yes. I think that I would have I think that I would have been disappointed. I thought he was going to flick. I thought he was going to be able to turn and flick his sword and take a tooth out. Like, I really saw it coming. And but I loved how shocked, like, you're absolutely correct in it, because I love how shocked Griffith felt when he watched him bite the sword. And he was like, are you kidding me right now? Are you biting the goddamn sword in your mouth? are you holding on to this end? And then when he dumped him on the ground, I was like, okay, how is this fight going to end? Because if he leans forward, he's going to, and then what do? A fist fight. And it had to end in a fist fight.
I loved it.
Happy. It had to end in a fist fight because it needed to be person to person. And him spitting his own blood back out on him. It was such a gross, basic, right down to your animalistic nature fight. And that's how it had to end. And here is the grossest part right here. He's screaming at him. They're fighting. Da, 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 da. Griffith stops anyone from walking forward. Then he gets down to his level, puts his hand on both sides of the face and says, now you belong to me. Okay, then. And then he goes, what does that mean? From now on, he's one of the Hawks, and he tries to pretend to everybody that this is just about him being one of the Hawks. And by doing that, he kind of takes the sting out of it for Guts, because otherwise Guts could be like, I don't belong to you. I don't belong to anyone. And then bizarrely, she's angry about it because she never got that treatment. And I'm like, can't you see that he's saying something so much worse?
Yeah.
Can't you see that he's literally claiming
with beautiful femboy, but this man's fucked up.
Can't you see that he just claimed his soul? And then he goes, that innocent grin, ear to ear, like some kind of little kid. God damn it, what the hell is he?
Oh, I just realized something so sad.
Okay, go ahead.
Guts, the only social interaction and engagement he's comfortable with is fighting. Who was the last person strong enough to beat Guts in a fight?
Beat? Do you mean
Gambino?
When he was taken?
Gambino was the last person who was able to beat him in a fight. The last person
didn't beat him in a fight. He killed Gambino. That isn't the last person.
And then moved past him. But like Gambino was the guy who beat him up and looked down over him.
Before that.
So
it's that same connection.
It's that same sort of thing of this is now the person he is sworn to.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They're both 15 here. She's 15, he's 15. And now he is apparently just owned. The first time that we see them fight and they come out with this pattern, and the fight is good. The fight is good. But what's amazing is the fact that Griffith made Guts go to the back. And everyone is like, that's too important of a position. Cass is like, you can't just leave him back there. That's way too important a position. I don't know what you're trying to prove. Or the team says that. And then Cass is like, no, he believes in him. He believes in him that much. He would never just do it to prove something.
Mm-hmm. And
so then you're like, well, he does actually appreciate him. He does actually think he's amazing. But on the other hand, of course he does. Would he want to take somebody's soul or own somebody if they weren't worthy of him? No.
No, he obviously thinks highly of Guts. Like I said, it's not disingenuous to say this is the first person who has appreciated Guts. I mean, and unless we count the random knight who wanted to hire him, but this is someone who's amazed by him. He does want to have him on board specifically. He wants to own him. He wants this to be his person, and he wouldn't want that if he wasn't impressed by him.
Exactly. He needs to be impressed by him.
And you talked before about how in the brief shot we saw in the Guardians of Desire arc, how he came across as a narcissist, and that is often the way narcissists value people, is as something worth having, something worth controlling, a valuable tool. That's the love that narcissists often show, is to value
but it's also
someone
that
as a resource.
If the person that you want to have ownership over isn't strong enough or good enough, they're a reflection on you, and you would never let anyone reflect poorly on you. So a narcissist needs somebody who's going out into the world with a good face, because they need to make sure that that person is representing them.
Ugh.
Yeah, so watching him in, I like the battle scenes. The battle scenes are so well drawn. Like, I don't have a ton to say them as far as like pulling apart military things because it's not the purpose, I think. But the one scene where they're firing cannons and then the whole sky is nothing but smoke and fire is drawn so beautifully that it was one of those things that what was that movie with Slapper? What was that movie with Slapper where his son was in it with him when Will Smith and him were in that movie? Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if you slap somebody at the Oscars, I can call
Will
you Slapper.
Smith.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
You can't just call Will Smith Slapper and expect that to be like communicative.
I said Will Smith afterwards, dude. No, it wasn't The Pursuit of Happiness. It was the one that his son was in with him and they were out in an alien world. They crashed their
After
alien
Earth?
vessel. Is that what it is? I don't know. After Earth, yeah. Anyway, there's a scene in After Earth where he's talking about when he
watched After Earth. That's crazy.
I did. Where he learned like half the audience. Thank you. Where he learns to control his emotions. And he talks about how he came with so much fear and it was the fear that was killing him. Fear is the killer. It is the mind killer. Because these creatures feed on fear and know where you are. And he said, then how did you get over it? And he says, one time I was hit very badly and I was in the water and my blood was leaking out of my body. And I was watching my blood in the water and I was thinking, oddly, that's very beautiful. The way that the blood flowers and blooms inside of the water. And it made me think of this page here on 260 and 61, where all these cannons are exploding and there's fireflies within them and there's movement and the smoke creates this high contrast. And the way the horses are lifting into the air is almost a dance and the shine of the battle is on everything. And I was like, that's got that same kind of feeling, that idea of being oddly beautiful in its grotesquerie.
I can see that.
And yeah. I feel like this is something, and the reason it's worth pointing out is that I feel like he does that time and again in this piece, that he's really comfortable making gross or grotesque or hateful or painful or whatever it is moments beautiful. And to give you another example, the horrific moment of the essay, everything around them is dark, and he draws the body of both of them beautifully. And then he has the roots coming out from them. And it was a horrific moment.
Yeah.
And he does that time and again, that when something really terrible is happening, he forces you to look at it by drawing it exceptionally. And says, look at this grotesquerie, stare at this pain. You are forced to see it and your eyes are drawn to it. I will use contrast. I will use shape, and you will find yourself looking at it.
Damn.
Yeah, and I think that is really important.
Hey, Lav, can you make that one a short? That was a really good run. That was straight up so well said.
And so I was looking at it, and after I saw that one image of the cannons exploding, I went back and started to look at all the other moments. And often when it's something that is the worst, it is drawn the best. And I was like, you sick SOB. That is so impressive.
Oh my God, I hadn't thought. That's such a good observation.
So I love that for us, and I hate that for us. And then in the moments where he's just sitting there and he's contemplating life, it's a really simple drawing, and he's just sitting up on the edge and staring at the stars, and there's no need to look at the beauty, but he's having one of the most beautiful moments. So the nice moments in his life are not highlighted in aesthetic pleasure. They're just done as if they're commonplace. What's the name of the dude who Pippin? Pippin is the name of the dude.
Do you want to hear something about comic theory that ties into what you're talking about?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the most difficult things about drawing comics is time, because time in every other media is easier to control. time in a book is people read at a pace. If you want them to read faster, you break it up. If you want them to read slower, you make it a big block. That's about all you can do, but you just tell people how time progresses. Time in film is very literal. People see as much time as you show them. They can tell when you speed something up or slow it down. They tell when you use montage, when you skip forwards. It's intuitive. Time is one of the most important tools to use, but it's also one of the easiest tools to use in film and animation. In comics, time is incredibly difficult. How long passes in a page? And one of the main ways you can control for time is detail. As a comic artist, if you want people to feel more time passing, you add more detail. If you want someone to feel more time, if you want to feel someone to feel that someone is lounging in their room for hours, you make it a big sprawling panel with speech bubbles dotted throughout it that drag the eye across with a row of clutter that draws you across the room, because it forces you to spend more time in the panel. And the more time you spend in a panel, the more time you perceive. And I think there's something brilliant about what you're doing, what you're observing there, because the way the human mind works is things that are bad, we remember in far greater detail with far more precision than things that are good. So what you're noticing there, I love, because we are forced to spend more time in the bad and think about it more and have it be more relevant and weighty in the story, because it is so beautiful and so detailed. It exists for longer. It consumes more of our readership, and it sticks with us more. It makes it feel almost as though this story is being, as a comic, is being written in first person, because the narrative devices that a comic artist has access to are being used to create a structure that is similar to this being recounted by the protagonist we're following. And that makes me a little bit sad to think about when the author dies, because when the author dies, the story will continue. We will keep reading, but it will be the story being told by his apprentice. And that's fine. That's all you can get. And it means the story of Berserk as we know it ends when we reach the end of this author. That's okay. But there's so many little details to how this author thinks and how this author tells a story with their medium that'll be lost. But isn't it also exciting to see another creative, if they are able to, find their own tools and their own ways to express this medium, and to use the knowledge they've gained from studying the medium as it's developed since this author to tell the story in their way? There's something really tragic and really exciting about that we're going to reach the point where this story is going to be told by a different hand with a different language.
I love that. I love that. That's a good additional observation. I know I'm going to think about it every time I'm being forced to look at these things.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Go ahead, Dr. Jack. You have good sleepies.
Bye, Mr. Jack.
Thank you for being here. Okay.
Is there anything else we need to talk about before we do our closies?
Yeah, there is. So when he is grabbed up by Pippin and he's dragged in, and you're like, please don't do something stupid, and all it is they ask him to drink with them, and for the tiniest little amount of time he gets to be just a person who's cared for. And I can't decide what her look on her face is, if it's only jealousy yet. It's irrelevant at this time. I think there might be a lot of, like, there's obviously a lot of jealousy, but I'm wondering if there's more to it, and that if she can like him, and I hope so, because it would mean a lot to me. Thank you, Aesthetics. Thank you for the sub. But what was amazing to me is, for the first time ever, he is part of somebody where people are of a similar age. She's making friends, like he's making friends, whether he knows it or not. And he feels cared for. And then she goes and says to him, but there is something about him that's different from us. There are things that simple mercenaries like us hear about and absorb drinking tales, things that he would think of like they were nothing. And I can't really describe it. Ordinary people don't understand Griffith. It might take longer than a lifetime. And then she talks about how his face shifts.
I thought this person was a boy. The feminine looking one with the ponytail was a boy.
Okay, I don't know, maybe. And they talk all about how their face shifts and the way that they change, and they can look so young and so old. And then what occurs right after there was kind of like a prep almost, It's like he knew. Judo is in fact a boy. Okay. It's like he knew. And he's just out in the main area having a little bath at the well, completely naked, unabashed. And they don't show his peen, which is a weird choice in a thing where they're showing
get symbolic dicks. We don't get literal dicks.
It was really weird because
symbolic.
Yeah, it was weird because I was like, oh, we're really only getting symbolic dick, but if it's a real dick, we're going to put that weird little glowy spot on it.
He got a glowy spot.
Because he says, care to join me? The best way to sober up, I'll pass. And then he just puts water on him and he acts like so innocent and they have this water fight. And you're thinking to yourself, like, if you didn't already know what you knew, you would be like, okay, this is a really good tale of these two friends and the friendship that is budding. But if you know what you knew, if you knew what you know, whatever. Now you should be looking at it and saying to yourself, holy god damn, this person is grooming him hard.
And someone said that if I read this like 7 years ago when I was younger, I would fall for him and think Griffith was charming. I think I still find Griffith charming is the issue. And the only reason I have any... think about this. Think about if you read this story without seeing the hatred Guts feels and knowing he's been given as a sacrifice and seeing, like, we know how the story ends and that's how we're able to do this. And all of the pieces of this, if we didn't have that, I'd be reading this as like a beautiful story of how Guts finds a family and someone to believe in. And I'd expect Griffith to die as a loving mentor who leaves Guts to want to live a better life. That's what my media analysis reading would tell me. Instead, I'm like, fuck this guy.
He is literally grooming him. And I think he's grooming him sexually. He's grooming him friendship. He's just grooming.
Because he is taking care of his hygiene by throwing water on him.
No, but for real, he is. He wants him to be the person he wants him to be. I want you to be clean because you represent me. I want you to think of me as being the very best because you belong to me. And then when we see the bala hat around his neck and he asks what it is, it also made me...
I think people said it's a bayhelet. Bayhelet?
I was like, so is there going to be 5 like I thought before, and this is one version of it? Is there going to be 5 of these in the end? And each of the or mark. I don't know, because why does he have a personal one? Is that how we mark somebody who's going to become a finger in the hand of God? I don't know. But watching this, I just felt like I was watching I was having to watch a child be groomed. And I know this person isn't a lot older than him, but he's older than him. I don't like it when 18-year-olds
far more experienced and like far.
And that's what I was going to say.
He isn't as naive about the world.
Well, think about high school. When a 15-year-old starts to date an 18-year-old, I'm like, ugh, I'm not comfy with it.
I think they're only a year apart, people said, but it's about...
There's so much change
it's about life
between
experience. The Guts is so naive.
I will get my own kingdom. You will fight for my cause because you belong to me. There's something terrifying in that calmness.
It so is. I think I love that Guts's men, when we're talking to, oh God, I forget the kid's name, everyone, Juno, is like, yeah, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I just know that he's something. We need to see this through. He's going to do something and we want to be part of it. And like, that speaks so much about the kind of character Griffith is. And I think more than any, like if his people had said, yeah, we believe that he wants to make the world better and he's incredible, it's not even that. They just say he's incredible and we want to see what happens. That's such a strong statement from his men.
Okay, but here's the part that is the worst, and I'm really worried about it. We don't get to see the end, so I know that Guts is probably still alive. I'm really worried that the ending is going to include Guts dying, because he goes, because you belong to me. You flip the page, there are 3 dove-like birds flying above them that almost look angelic, and then he says, I will decide the place where you die.
Yeah, it's an unsettling statement to make.
Pardon me now? And so I think that to be true to form, you almost have to wonder if he will decide the place that Guts dies.
which would have to imply that Griffith did wanted him to not die in the stairs dimension.
Exactly. And I think that that's true, because I think that in that time that Griffith could have killed him.
Yep.
I don't think Guts really fought his way out in the way that he won. I think Griffith was like, it's fun to have you alive.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this game.
Can I say that this is some of my favorite art I've done on the channel? I think the line work here is is probably my best line art I've done on this show.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. It's absolutely gorgeous. My puppies just went outside to go to the bathroom, and they both have a habit that after they go to the bathroom, they come running to me like, hi, I was outside and I'm inside now. And it's my favorite.
You just need to let you know that they're inside once again, like, hey, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we all know what happens on the stairs. You drew the piece and it's amazing.
Yep.
And we're looking forward now into the next battle. And we just end in this scene with Griffith sitting there. I don't know why I wrote, oh, Griffith, you prick. I'm not sure why I wrote that exactly there, but apparently, yeah, your delete my art, Brother Onion, was well spent.
I feel bad for the people who, like, 3 times now there's been delete your arts that make it worse, like I don't recover. Most of the time it's an improvement. I feel so bad when I can't deliver, like, oh no, this one was bad.
It was good. Okay.
This one was great.
So that's it. So let's do our closing segment. I'm going for dinner.
We finished.
I'm going for dinner to a friend's house, like a person who has dinner at a friend's house.
We can finish within our 2-hour goal if we finish quick.
Here we go. So, do I need to do a new YouTube thing? Yeah. I'm going to be more hinged, but really dark. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Somebody count me from 5 to 1. 5 to 1. Come on, people.
521.
No, just 5, 4. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Here we go. Welcome, sufferers. Thank you for joining us for Berserk.
Hey,
the happy edition.
Wait, I have terrible news. They call themselves strugglers. You got to restart.
Count me in.
Count her in, everybody.
And 3, 2. Welcome, strugglers, to Berserk, the happy edition, where we point out the happy things about a Berserk life. Today we joined Guts as he struggled, and I know what you're thinking. That could be any page, and you're right. But he struggled especially bad, and we took you through the journey. If you enjoy that journey, please press subscribe and the like button, because what's not to like about retribution? That's all.
That was good. That felt poetic.
It did, didn't it? It's a poetry day up in the
day.
Lady poetry.
Lady, has anyone seen my poems? I'm off to awake.
Okay, what do you think? To quote Pup, Berserk.
I get to do the first one because you did the first one last time. I understand that. I know he's one of the worst men ever, but
oh god,
I am putting number 1 this week.
No,
I'm not going to do number 1. There is someone I actually liked better, who I found more compelling. I am going to say number 2 is the bastard himself, Griffith. This man is so fucking compelling as a villain. He's so compelling.
But now you don't know if you get to pick number 1. What if I go and pick 1?
Well, I'm not saying I get to pick 1. I'm saying if I were picking 1, I would pick someone else, so I can't put him at 1.
There's someone that you would pick before him this week.
Yes.
I'm trying to think who that would be.
You think about it. It was close.
It
was close as fuck. And what I will say is, god damn, this guy is such an interesting character. He's charming. He's charismatic. But more than anything, okay. So hear me out, right? I've said I'm a Blackbeard fan for anyone who knows One Piece. And Blackbeard is a character who is all about ambition. That is Griffith. I have never seen a character who exudes more energy of conquest in fiction. This is crazy. He is so compellingly written, such a bastard, so good. God, I love reading every page he's on. You go next.
Okay. I'm not picking one because I don't have a one
Okay.
in my head. I'm picking 5.
Yep.
And it is Shmoo.
It's Shmoo.
Well, he moved the story along in an interesting way and let me get to see Griffith have a win. I would just pick Guts, Mr. Guts getting to kill his person but that's not a person. So Shmoo. Shmoo, it's you. Die well.
Good job, Shmoo. Whatever the thing I just started doing makes this even better. My number 1 is Casca. I find her immediately so interesting. She's got
I love that.
She's got such a fucking energy to her. I don't know. Like what I said about Griffith, what I realize is I'm even more excited for panels with Casca than Griffith. I am so curious about her arc. It can go so many ways before she has a horrible, horrible end. So I'm putting her at number 1.
Okay.
Griffith may end up being my favorite villain of all time. Yes.
I really am enjoying Griffith as a villain. He is terrifying and awful and terrifying.
He's
Number 4 for me
so
is Pip. Number 4 for me is Pippin. I won't hear anything about it.
No, my only thought is I probably would have put him at 3. That Pippin's good.
I might have put him at 3. You know what? Pippin, I'm moving you up. I'm moving you up to 3 because I can think of a person I would put at 4. So congratulations, Pippin. Cheers all around. That's one of the first people to get to move up.
Okay, let me think about this. Let me think about what's up. All we have left is 4, right?
Yeah.
Who is a 4th character I don't hate in this section?
The other boy. What's his pickle?
Yeah, Juno? Juno, I think, is up there. I'm just trying to think because I don't want to just default to him because he exists.
I'm a little worried about him because his name is too close to Judah. Like Judas.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna do Judo. I really did like him. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't picking him just because he's all that's left. But I think he was really good. I enjoy him. He's
nice
cute.
Boy, I like him. What did we see for Guts? Are we just putting him on the?
Yeah, he has a protagonist tier list. Last time we gave him a C.
We gave him a C+, and he's a B+ to me because he gets all the retribution.
B+ is what I was gonna do too. He shows a lot of resilience. Yeah. He's getting up there in the protagonist charts.
Yeah, and he scores 1 for the SA team. Thank you for killing sexual predators. Woo!
We love
high five. Woo! Fireworks.
Okay.
Do you want to hear a little something that is interesting? The picture you drew could be in Witch Hat Atelier.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that speaks interestingly about Witch Hat Atelier. I genuinely think this is some of the best inking I've ever done, which is crazy.
I would agree, because I did genuinely be in Witch Hat Atelier.
I did way less sketching underneath, and here's an interesting fact about the Griffith panel. The Griffith wasn't from a panel. I used several images for reference. None of them are a direct 1-for-1 for this. This is partially from imagination, which I'm very impressed by.
I'm just telling you, the colors, the line art, the way that people are looking, this is so Witch Hat Atelier.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other things that we take care of?
Oh yeah, we got to do our happy moment. Each of us have a happy moment. Each of us have a sad
moment.
To
have you, Beard.
And because there's no monsters in this section, we got to do each have a favorite drip because there's no monster in this zone.
How dare you?
I think we do drip when there's no monster. Okay, you know what?
Gambino was a monster.
Monster design though. We did monster design, and they don't have monstrous designs. You know.
Mine is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
For drip, my favorite drip is going to be Emperor Karl Franz, the knight with the funny helmet.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
My happy moment.
I respect the Emperor Karl Franz. Happy moment. What moment brought you joy? Unexpected joy.
Him killing a sexual predator.
Fair. For me, it was Guts thinking about sitting and drinking, and there was such a swirl of emotion in him that I really loved because it felt like there was both regret to him that he felt like he'd done it wrong, that they were all smiling and laughing and he wasn't, but he still enjoyed it and appreciated it even though he couldn't be part of it the way he felt like he should. And like,
that's cool.
Like I think this artist does such a great job at creating expressions that tell you so much story with just a look. And it felt like there was both regret and joy on his face. Like he wished regret that he couldn't do this better, that he couldn't be better at this, but happiness that he got to experience it at all. And that was a really beautiful little shot, and I really loved it.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you for pointing that out.
All right. What brought you the most pain? What made you struggle? What gave you suffer?
Yeah, that would also be the sexual assault.
Okay, so you got 2 for 1. Mine would be the same scene that I said for what made me happy because of seeing Guts' regret of not being. Yeah, we both did the same thing. We did the same thing. It was genuinely heartbreaking to look at him be like trying to be happy, but then also being like, I wish I was better at this. I wish I knew how to do this.
I would have also picked the time that he was sitting there happy in the sun with Griffith after the fight with the water, because that was it nice. Felt like he really had such a deep friend, and I already know what's coming.
Oh man.
Oh, I was supposed to tell you because apparently we couldn't do this before and some people tried, and now we have fixed it. You can gift people Patreon.
You can give Patreons.
You can gift them now. Apparently
I think my voice cracked when I said that. You can gift Patreons.
Well, it turns out you're a leprechaun, and
Tiddly dee. Did you know you could gift a Patreon to me, the Drawk Show? Are you aware of you could do that? That's a thing you can do. What's great about this accent is it's really bad. Not doing a good job of it.
Oh, God, you weirdo.
Oh, dearie me.
Okay, what are we doing now? Did we've done all of our things?
I think that's it. I don't think we have more closing segments.
I hope. Can I just say, Squishies, I hope to God that we brought a little happiness to your Berserk, and we took a little bit of the edge off, and we came along on the journey together, and so a journey shared is a journey enjoyed.
And I just want to say, Squishies, that Berserk is pushing me to get better at art, because I feel like I can't just literally redraw panels because this guy's a master, and having to just be weird and do it how I felt like doing it on instinct led to one of my favorite pieces of art I've done for the channel, which, you know.
I love it. My whole heart loves it. What are we reading to next?
What are we reading to next? Where's the little list? What are we doing? You hunt down the little list because I don't know where it is.
I'm hunting down the little.
Yeah, I mean, I'm adding my logo in.
Proper chapter 12? What's a proper chapter 12?
But my website says chapter 16 is what I'm currently read. Oh no. Oh, we're leaving prologues and going to chapter numbers now.
Never mind. Lucky Lab has told me. Berserk chapter list.
Chapter 12, because we're leaving prologue.
So we went to Golden Age 8, and now we're doing the Wind of Words.
Oh, this is apparently. We get to read so much more this time. This is so much longer. I'm excited.
I don't know how long that is.
Someone said as a person of Irish descent, they approve my terrible accent. I'm glad. This is exciting, guys. And Haberfax said unrelated, but thank you, Drawk and Mama Drawk. I've had the honor of being a guest lecturer recently, and our streams helped you get through the stress of school. You were a guest lecturer? That's awesome.
Cool.
Dude, the other night, there was someone in chat who had just...
Up to you, Haberfax. I think we're reading to page 444, if I'm just being serious, and we're reading all the Nosferatu Zod, which, that's weird.
That's cool. I'm very excited to... Oh, the chapters are shorter than prologues. Okay. Well, still, we get to read a little bit more than we have, it sounds like. I'm excited. I wanted to read more so bad this week.
I'm just so happy for Haberfax right now. You kit. Live your best life, you squishy, precious squishy.
Oh, thanking a patron. That's why it feels like we haven't done it. We still have something to do. I'm going to grab a random patron name to thank for the episode, and then we're good. Oh my God. We needed to close out, but I kept sitting here like, but there's something
we're missing.
I'm missing something.
I want to thank all of our Patreons. You kick ass. You are the wind beneath our wings.
And I'm going to thank a special squishy or crew. Both are in the list that I get. I'm going to thank... Rolling around. Thank you, Sir Zachary, for your support of the stream. You help us keep the lights on.
Is it really Sir Zachary, or did you add the Sir?
Zachary.
Amazing.
However, it's Sir Zachary. I need to note it's Sir Zachary with an I, so they're not necessarily a knight. They didn't do the Sir with an E thing to be like, yeah, I'm definitely a knight.
I'm calling them Sir Zacharias of Zacharonia.
That's a cool kingdom, Zacharonia.
Thank you. We're reading to page 608 according to Stazzy Boy, and Stazzy is the one who decides where we're reading to.
Stazzy's
so that's
been
what
pretty
we're
good
reading.
at it so far. As much as I really wanted to read more, this was the right amount to talk about for a 2-hour stream.
It was a really good bad, but I agree.
Yeah.
So everybody read to page 608. Join us next Sunday, rocking it out, drawking it out. Obviously, it's drawking it out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Let's pick someone to raid. Who's got a raid target? Who we got our sights on? If
Iron Mouse is there.
If
the Oak party is there.
If no one says something, it's gonna be Oak because I love Oak. She's nice. I gotta have Oak on and actually stream with her. Like I don't know why I don't reach out. I raid her constantly.
Hey, let's go to Oak, but let's see our ending things because I want to get it right this time.
All right, you ready?
Bye, Legit Hawaiian. Thank you for giving me these books.
Until next time.
I've been pain-free.
I'm the painkiller.
Squish on squishies.
Been lovely talking to you. Why did we need to come up with a new thing? Why'd you think we needed a new bonus? Is that just a thing we do now?
Yes, every one of them gets a thing that is in line with the manga. The manga deserves it. Manga deserves it.
All right, manga deserves it. God, I really like this picture. I think I killed it today. This is fucking crushes.
I'm in love with that picture. You've done a beautiful Witch Hat Atelier picture. I even feel like his shoes are flying.
Okay, I don't know what that means. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here. All right. I'm gonna leave this on. Okay, I'm ready to rock and roll. I get to go for dinner. Bye.